Hello, listeners, and welcome to the Pod Fruit One Piece Through New Eyes. On today's episode, we will be discussing Volume 18, titled Ace Arrives. Volume 18 covers chapters 156 through 166. I am the host, Michael, and with me, as always, we have our One Piece rookies, V and Dylan.
Hello.
Hi.
A quick reminder to join us on Twitter, Instagram, and Discord for all our latest announcements, information, and fun. On Twitter, we are at PodFruit. Instagram, it's PodFruit, and our Discord is linked in the description. We would also love if you gave us a follow and a review. Let us know what you like or what you don't. We love feedback. So, before we get started, do you guys got anything you want to get off your chest?
I'm just ready. I'm ready for this one. If I'm to give my overall impressions just right off the bat, it was a lot of different elements for me in this volume in particular. It felt a little bit disjointed at first. And then eventually it comes back on the same sort of line or storyline, basically. So interesting thoughts along the way.
Yeah, a lot to love. Some stuff to not. Dylan, anything for you? You don't have to give your wrap-up thoughts here.
Well, I mean, we'll hit it when we hit. There's a couple parts it's like, okay. Sure, I guess that's right.
All right. Well, let's begin. My summary written by me today. On the way to Alabasta, Luffy and the gang encounter and befriend an odd individual who turns out to be the Mr. 2 of Baroque Works. Mr. 2 shows the devil fruit ability to clone appearances of others before leaving. The mysterious Ace turns out to be Luffy's older brother, and he is waiting for Luffy in Alabasta. But so too is Smoker and the Navy. Luffy, Ace, and Smoker all encounter each other in town, and a chase ensues. The Straw Hats flee to their ship where they meet up with Ace, who invites them to join his captain's crew, but the invitation is rejected. Ace hands Luffy a piece of paper and departs. The crew pushes through the desert to Yuba, the home of the rebellion, in hopes of preventing violence. On arrival, Yuba is abandoned save for one lone elder, Toto, who is the father of Koza, the leader of the rebellion, and childhood friend of Vivi. Vivi wants to go to the new rebel base of Katoria, but Luffy refuses, seeking to confront Crocodile instead. Meanwhile, Baroque Works gathers as Crocodile commands them to commence the plan Operation Utopia. And that is Volume 18. Today, V will start us off with Chapter 156. Hit it, V.
Okay, just right off the bat, Usopp and Luffy using Karoo as bait because they ate all of it was so fucking typical. But also, how dare they? Like, don't do that to Karoo. He's my sweet little duck boy. Don't fuck with him. But
V loving an animal again.
Look at me falling for cuteness. And
I was about to say, I could see where Dylan would lie on this. He'd be like, you gotta fish with something.
My brother loves baits. That's how you get the big ones.
But Karoo's a member of the crew.
Yeah.
It's like if you were to tear off a piece of my arm to fish with it.
I mean, are we starving?
You might as well just eat my arm.
They're both using him as bait.
I know. They have two separate fishing lines, and they're both having one end of him. It's so funny.
To be honest, it's probably going to be a pretty big fish. It's going to take 2 men to take that sucker in.
Yeah. 2 men, 2 rods.
Imagine the net that you need to bring it in. Like, that's a big net. Maybe Luffy needs to do his net fingers.
Oh, God.
his spindly, yucky fingers.
Salad fingers?
Well, actually, you mentioned that'd be also like, you need to fish? Just do that with your hands and troll behind the boat.
Honestly, yeah.
Right?
Dylan's onto something here.
I'll use that. I want to find out some way to use that in a D&D campaign.
No, that's a hell of a strategy, honestly. And then, so then just the next page, we get the intro image, which I thought was really cool. Again, a good display of Oda's ability to play with perspective a lot. They somehow all look like badasses, but not like in a typical way. It's hard to explain. Like in any other context, seeing Usopp wearing football gear, Zoro wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap, and Sanji pouring a drink with a floral shirt would be a little silly. But for some reason, in that specific context, it works. I know. It might be the bones in the background, yeah. But yeah, love it. Great
I didn't know that was football gear. I thought Usopp was straight up wearing a suit of armor.
Yeah, that's what I see that. Like I kind of get where you're getting with it.
You can see the number on his shoulders,
I think you're right.
Right?
I think you're right.
And then
you might be right.
Also, just shout out to Chopper, because we haven't seen him very much in intro images. Yeah, and then he's in his Not his kawaii form. Not in his kawaii form, but in his, like, I'm an actual deer form.
I'm not really a deer. I'm a broom.
To be honest, Diane, I'm surprised.
Moving into the volume proper. I did, like, while I appreciated the little explanation about the underwater volcanoes and the new islands being born, the highlight of that whole introduction to this volume to me was at the top of page 6, where Usopp and Luffy are still dangling Karoo over the water, and Luffy is wondering if he's still going to be alive in tens of thousands of years. Like, for some reason, that scene of, like, them fishing and Luffy being like, I wonder if I'll still be alive in tens of thousands of years. Like, it's absurd.
Usopp just there with the dose of truth? I don't think so.
No, probably not, bro. And and it's funny because you know that Luffy would be the only member of the crew to actually consider even thinking of living tens of thousands of years, because he has no concept of, like, self-preservation and or regular human life.
There's so much food I haven't eaten yet.
Exactly. So many people that haven't, like, bashed their heads in.
Right.
Have so much life left to live. And yeah, so really good visual shot here at the top of page 8 when we see Usopp and Luffy's faces when they see Mr. 2 hang in from Karoo. I just love that shot. Oda does surprised expressions really well. And I do just want to note here, because I know that in the previous volume I had adjusted my language a little bit, I want to note here that the pronouns that are used to talk about Mr. 2 are he, him. So I'm switching my vocabulary to match that, but if I do end up finding out that another pronoun should be used to define this character, I'll switch. But for now, it seems to be he, him.
Did you see our viewers' comment in the Discord about the Okama lifestyle or something like that?
I don't think I did.
I remember I think you were talking about it at one point.
So, Okama is a type of lifestyle in Japan that is, I think, similar. I'm going off of memory here. It's similar, but not quite the same as drag in the United States.
Okay.
So my understanding is that he, him is appropriate. So actually, I found it here. I will read it just verbatim.
Yep.
You can use any version of he, she, they. In One Piece, Mr. 2 is an Okama, or lives by the O Come My Way lifestyle. Okamas are queer men, cross-dressers, etc. Not every gay, queer, non-binary is an Okama. That's our little blurb from a listener. Okay,
perfect. It's just I noticed that the he, him pronoun is being used, so I'll stick to that for now. But
sure,
we'll, I consider that to be a pretty fluid thing, and if I notice a trend that shows otherwise, I will adjust. I just wanted to point it out that if my notes reflect the he, him pronouns, whereas previously I've used the they pronouns, I just wanted to make listeners aware that I'm just being mindful of that. I have to say, I loved seeing everyone ready to fucking pounce on Mr. 2 at the middle of page 11 after he strikes Luffy. Like, they're all so willing to put their lives on the line. It's kind of heartwarming. Like, just in the middle of page 11, you see, like, Zoro, Usopp, Nami, Vivi, and Chopper. They're so ready. They're ready to just freaking jump on him.
Looks like he might be ready to go back inside.
That's an Usopp reaction, but he's ready to take some sort of action, whether that be to fight or to flee. He's ready to do something. But it to me, it brings more meaning and more significance to, oh shit, someone hit Luffy.
Right.
Which I think, if I'm really to think about it, it's not something that happens very often. And so when it does happen, it's like, oh shit.
He rarely gets sucker punched. At least.
Yeah. So that's something I noticed. And then, so the clone fruit, that's fucking terrifying, to be honest. Like, just imagining the way it could be used. And case in point, the bottom of page 13, when Mr. 2 transforms into Nami. Like, it's I know that part of it might have been just catered to the audience that is expected of a shonen manga, but when you think about it with your adult eyes, it's super fucking creepy.
Like AI AI kind of shit that we got going on now.
Deep fakes and whatever. Like, and I know it's not like that could physically hurt someone, but from a strategic point of view, the clone cone fruit, super powerful. And then to me, that becomes even more evident at page 18. Yeah, when Vivi says that one of the faces she saw was her father's, and then Zoro points out that he could pass himself off as the king. Like, strategically, and I don't know that Mr. 2 necessarily has the wit or the wherewithal to really utilize his power to the fullest extent, and that is, we're probably going to end up finding out more about that. But, like, the potential of action with that power is, like I said, terrifying.
It's definitely dangerous, is what I wrote. It seems a little silly fun at first, but
it's scary, yeah.
Yep.
And then Zoro makes a great point at the bottom of page 19. If Mr. 2 doesn't realize that the Straw Hats are who have been giving Baroque Works trouble, they can use his ignorance to their advantage. And as we reach the end of the volume, that kind of proves to be true, although anyway, we'll get there when we get there. But there's certainly an advantage to, at least for now, having Mr. 2 not realize who they are. And that's about all I had for chapter 156. Overall, a pretty good intro chapter to this new volume, leaving a lot to hunger for, leaving a lot of questions left to be answered, but I feel like that's a good thing for a first chapter of a volume. And that's, a pretty big volume. We end up learning quite a bit in this volume. We end up actually making a lot of progress in the story. Yeah, that's what I had for 156. Dylan?
Yeah. And on page 1, you mentioned, they're fishing with Karoo, and then Vivi gets in the way, intervenes and hits him, but still leaves Karoo, on the hook.
Yeah.
It's just
yeah.
Okay. That was funny. I just found it funny.
They got right back up on that pedestal and kept fishing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a waiting game. I don't like how, when they're kind of, it kind of shows you how well, Nami knows the oceans, that, they come to her in a panic. It's just, don't worry about it. Before they can even say what it is, she's like, it's nothing. You're good. Just go through it. I also found it weird, on page 5, she's explaining it to it, and, Tony is, a volcano under the water, but he's, glaring at her. It's what the fuck, dog? Why are you so fucking angry, you little shit?
Hey, yo!
Hey, whoa, hey!
Hey, I think those eyes point him somewhere else.
I'm fucking confused over here. Explain shit to me.
His name is Tony. He probably talks like this.
Hey, right, maybe. If he does talk like that, maybe.
What you looking at?
It is funny, just the whole fact that it's, Mr. 2 is who he is, and, just no clue. And, of course, freaking, Usopp, Tony, and Luffy are the ones, loving the most, or, chopping it up with them. And you mentioned the creepiness of, him being Nami and kind of flashing everybody. It reminded me of in Dragon Ball, when the pig guy, or whatever it was, imitates Bulma to get a...
Yeah.
Oh, that's a memory that I had repressed, and now it's coming back.
It's hey, you train Goku, so I'm going to show you my tits, but they're not my tits, they're her tits. I'm just looking like you.
I'm going to show you her tits. Oh, God.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit in that. It's damn, the 80s was wild. You can get away with some shit. But,
the first couple episodes of Dragon Ball got away with a
lot, yeah.
Yeah. It was a different time.
Female ass, I think in the first, 3-4 episodes, Goku's little baby penis.
I'm just more talking about the fact it's wait, I don't feel a wiener there, and then takes off the underwear. It's what the fuck?
Yeah.
No. It's I need to stop reading. If I get found out I read this, I'm going to get canceled. But anyways, that's what, and I also noticed that when she's flashing, the only people are ooh, Mamma Mia, or Tony, Usopp, and Luffy. Zola's not there, which I think is kind of important, even though he's there. He's not Uber.
Zoro's a real man. He's not about that. I don't know if
Luffy's Mamma Mia, or Luffy, excuse me. Luffy too. Chopper.
Yeah, the Chopper.
I just think it's surprise. I don't think they're about it necessarily, because I cannot imagine Luffy having a sexual thought.
I don't think he does either. It just happens, and it's just natural reflex. It's ooh.
Now Sanji.
Well, yeah, it's a good thing Sanji wasn't there.
Thank God he was.
Yeah, now Sanji would be trying to bang Mr. 2. It's I have a feeling I have a better chance with you.
Probably. Not to speculate, but...
Here I go speculate.
But it is funny, because I didn't notice it when I first read it, but when I reread it, before they kind of explain everything about it, she Vivi notices, and it shows that she notices that it's her father's face. In the bottom of 14, which is like, what? Because like the 2 panels before, it's her father. It's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then again, the reveal. Yeah, like then as he's leaving, like the corny line, it's like, just remember, friendship is not determined by how much time you spent together. And that fucking Tony crying again.
Don't
That's
start.
the fucking guy. Over a guy he just fucking met.
Don't start.
Ugh.
Give it.
Is he?
Give him at least. Give him at least a chapter before you start fucking hating on him, please.
Nope, I come out the gates. Fuck that deer. But then, like, as they're leaving, it's like, let's go, Mr. 2. And they're like, oh, what the fuck? And I love the fact that it's like, when Vivi's like, oh, I didn't know his power. It's like, they say he wears makeup and talks like a girl. Wears a swan coat that says, oh, come my way on the back. And they're like, bitch, that's exactly what he looked like. What, like, are you blind? Like, what the fuck? And even Luffy's like, really? Like, you didn't pick any of that up? Because it was super... If Luffy's calling you out...
Luffy feels intellectually superior to someone for the first time in his life.
If Luffy's calling you out for being non-observant, you fucked up hard. And then you get the reveal about it. It's like her father. And then Zolo, being kind of the level-headed guy he is, was like, puts the thing, it's like, man, if you were to just pretend to be the king and do some awful shit, which I think later on we hear about some shit that happens, I think my theory is Mr. 2 was the one who did it, but it could do a lot of damage. And then Zolo, of course, has got an idea. It's like, I know what we could do to plan our strategy. And it's just like, I get, we'll get to it when we get to it. And then we got Unnecessary Whale and Unnecessary Whale Tender for the SBS. I forgot their names.
Whale tender?
Yeah, the guy who tends the whale.
Oh, I was thinking like a chicken tender, but made out of whale meat.
I would eat whale.
Oh, I wouldn't. I think there's some kind of moral implication. I don't know.
But yeah, that's all I got.
All right. So I thought it was funny because at the beginning of this chapter, they're like talking about how the Straw Hats are slowly moving towards Alabasta. In the last chapter, it was full speed ahead. So it's like they clearly either ran into some difficulty or maybe they're just chilling. I really liked seeing the brief moment of ship life that we got at the beginning. You know, they're fishing, they're hanging out. I thought it was very on brand for the people who were in the galley. It was Nami sitting at the table with Chopper, just chit-chatting, I guess, or doing whatever. And Sanji's in there, of course, because Nami's in there. And he seems to be on the other side, possibly cooking or something. It's just very homey. You know, they all have their spots. Luffy and Usopp fishing feels right for them.
Yeah.
And yeah, I liked that. I thought, I agree with you guys. Or maybe I disagree with V. I don't think Dylan touched on it. Either way. Mr. 2
You're
hanging
allowed to
on
agree with
Karoo
No.
was quite funny. The whole fishing scene with Karoo, I liked that a lot. And I thought it was an interesting dynamic here when Mr. 2 comes aboard, because, again, they're all oblivious to his actual motives, but they clearly, have a bond with this guy. And he says some, I know Dylan called it a little corny, which maybe it is. That's fine. But he leaves with a very positive remark. He's like, we're homies. Friendship is not about how much time. I gotta go. But this was awesome. And yeah, it's an interesting dynamic for a top tier Baroque's Works member. So I would agree. His fruit is definitely dangerous, especially if it's used correctly. And yeah, I really liked seeing Zoro be that level-headed, strategic mind. He's already thinking about how this could be used and how they can use it to their advantage, or the knowledge to their advantage. So, just overall, opening with the ship life shenanigans and quickly introducing a potential adversary was an interesting way to open things up. It was quite funny, but the intro of Mr. 2 effectively showing Baroque Works' hands to them before they have to kind of figure it out on the fly was an interesting twist on a villain introduction. But yeah, that's really all I had for 156. 157 is Dylan.
Okie doke. And then cover image, we get to see full body squaring up against one of the Tulip pirates. And they got the hostage. Their hair is fucking stupid.
God.
And then it opens up with the sea cat. It always reminds me of like those good luck charm things you see in like restaurants. Yeah.
Yeah. Michael's showing us his tattoo.
Wait, do you have one? Let me see it again.
Yeah.
Oh, no shit. Okay, yeah. Yeah, those.
Yeah.
Especially when it's got the paw up the way it does.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, God, it's a sea cat. And of course, I like the way it's drawn. Goofy Terror And how fucking Usopp's nose goes squiggly, too.
It's like deflating almost.
And of course, Luffy and Zolo are like, yeah, we haven't eaten in 4 days. Let's kill it and eat it.
That Luffy panel with his eyes all twisted.
That's kind of scary. Food. Not gonna lie.
It's borderline Junji Ito kind of
Yeah, yeah, a little bit.
And they're getting ready to square off, and then fucking Vivi bonks him over the head with what looks like Alvida's club.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
It kind of I like the shot of like as she's like yelling at him. The shot of the sea cat like swimming away, like it's like, oh shit, that was close. It's funny. I like that.
I thought these people worshiped me.
Not them. They want to eat me. The audacity of these mortals. And then, of course, like freaking Usopp on top of 5. I like that. It's like, that was strange. You didn't say anything yet. And then immediately cuts into like bullshit, spinning a bullshit yard in the background again. That's one. And I like how like Tony's like you can barely see it, but Tony looks like he's actually like interested in what he's saying. He's the only one paying attention to Usopp.
Yeah.
He says, you did?
Wow.
He'll learn eventually.
I kind of like the 2-page spread shot of the top panel of just the Baroque Works fleet.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I noted that too.
And the thing is, like, okay, why doesn't Albasta's navy be like, that's, a large fleet of military ships with a symbol we don't know. We should probably respond to this. If I was king and a bunch of unknown ships flying unknown banners came up, I'd send out my navy and be like, hey, boss, what's going on here?
You got any papers to come on board there?
Yeah, I don't think I see a traveler's visa.
They're coming to take our gerbs.
They took our gerbs.
And then Usopp, like, oddly being ballsy. He's like, yikes, let's blast them all right now. It's like,
I noted that.
Bro, like, when I've seen, you've got, like, 3 cannons tops on this bitch. And then this is the thing, it's like, we get to see Zolo's plan. Where it's like, yeah, let's get a cloth to tie around our arms. That's how we'll know it's us. It's like, where I can be like, they got red cloth tied around their arms. Oh, look at this. Some red cloth. Plan sucks. It's an easily fixed inconvenience.
I don't know about that. But
once they get in a fight, though, he can notice it, but, let me just put on a cloth. Or it's like, you see him do it once, it's like, they'll change cloths. It's like, at that point, just have, like, 6 or 7 different cloths on you, and then tie those.
I don't know, it's still worth a try. That's okay. I get it.
I mean, it's just like, I don't know. It's like, I've seen this.
Dylan, I think you'll be surprised.
Well, Mr. 2 doesn't seem very smart, so you see, like, the whole tie-off scene, and then, like, Karu's just, like, completely covered in strips of cloth. It's like he's trying to dress up as the mummy for Halloween. I liked that. That was cute. I know I brought it up in earlier episodes where it's like Usopp's kind of becoming the ship's carpenter. And, like, I want to see, like, if later on throughout the series, like, you get to see his handiwork in the background like you can on Middle of 9. And I wonder, it's like, as the story progresses, is it going to get, like, better looking? Is he actually going to, like, turn into, like, a really renowned craftsman?
He's like, I can't fight, but I can nail shit together.
Yeah, not well. I mean, that shit is fucking rough. If that was below, like, if they got hit below the waterline, he wouldn't be the guy. Because there ain't no tar and rope in between any of those planks, because that's what you're supposed to do. And then, like, okay, and then you get, like, after everybody's tied everything together. And I love that Sanji's kind of, like, tying on Kahu's. That's, again, cute. Or Karu.
Kahu.
The bird. Well, they're like,
Karu.
Right now, no matter what happens from here on, our left arms will bear the sign of our fellowship. I mean, work 10 years at this business for this, and this is what you give me. Sorry. But yeah. And then they go short. And the scene of them pulling into port, like them sailing towards the city, and so that's a great scene. I love that scene right there. I like that. And I also like this, to eat, then on to Alabasta. I don't guess that's Vivi's being like, Alabasta's an afterthought?
Is that what you guys are here for?
It's like, I need to save my kingdom. Yeah, whatever. There's a golden corral here.
Are there golden corrals in Canada?
No.
That's probably a good thing.
Are there buffets in Canada?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's kind of sweet at the bottom of that same page. It seems like Vivi is starting to feel like really accepted by the group. It seems like she kind of clutches onto the piece of ribbon affectionately. She's like, oh, they're my friends. I like having friends.
Imagine having friends.
Oh my god, what are we?
Buddies.
Acquaintances.
Oh. You're not my buddy, guy.
You're not my guy friend.
You're not my friend. Buddy, I don't know.
She said friend.
Fuck.
Friend.
And then we get to see, I like seeing, this is the town shot of the Nanohana. It's fun. It makes it feel lived in. And then we get to see our boy, Smoker, because apparently there's a crowd gathering. And then this is where we get introduced to Ace, and that back shot. I know he explains it.
Back shot has a different meaning nowadays, Dylan.
Well, yeah.
Well,
but the precursor above, before you even see the Vesica, it's like the symbol on his back is an ancient Buddhist symbol. It's not a swastika.
Yeah.
It's like the issue is Nazi Germany took that image and made it terrible.
Yeah, this is the second time that we've come across this as a topic.
I mean, it's a different cultural
discussion.
thing, because I know over there, like, the Buddhism was, like, way bigger, but it's like, the further west you go, the more of a really hard knee-jerk reaction that symbol gets.
It's understandable that people, Western culture would maybe be a little put off by it.
Well, I think also the swastika, the arms...
That's not the meaning here.
I think the arms twist in a different direction. I think it's reversed.
I didn't know there was a specific direction.
Or at a different angle or something.
I think it's still the same angle. I think it's just the way the legs are reversed. It bad. It bad. If there's anything else besides the swastika on there, probably be a pretty cool ass tat.
Underneath it, it has the SS symbol. It's like, no, that's cultural too. Trust me.
No. The death skull is from, like, ancient Norse mythology.
Don't worry about it.
Doesn't matter. It's used by Hitler's death squads. You can't disassociate anymore. And also Ace, fucking, apparently a big old dum-dum, or at least his tattoo artist is. Did you see his tattoo of his name on his arm where the S has to get crossed out? He's like, yeah, it's A-S-E. Oh, wait, no, it's C. But he's just passed out. Everyone thinks he's dead, and then he just sits up, wipes his fucking mouth on somebody's robe.
You can kind of tell that he and Luffy are related.
Yeah, no, once because I think it's revealed that it's his brother, like, later on, but, like, looking back on it.
Yeah, but, like, once you know, you're like,
It's like, yeah, it's fucking Luffy. The waking up mid-fucking food coma to eat more, it's like, yeah, it's Luffy.
He says wubba when he wakes up. I loved that. I don't know what it was, why that tickled me so much, but the first thing he said, wubba.
Sits up, says wubba hubba dub dub.
I'm Pickle A's.
That's where they got it from. Oh my god. Rick and Morty are One Piece fans. But I like, you don't get the introductory shot, but you do get to see, like, the full fronter shot of him and get a really good kind of look at his character. Just given, he's got a log pose on too. Cool. Sorry. But he gives, like, Aussie vibes. Hard as shit.
Like Aussie as in from Australia?
Okay,
yeah.
I was like...
No, Ozzy as in Ozzy Osbourne, yeah.
Because it's like when he wakes up and it's like, oh, you hire these comedians in your boat? It's just like...
He wakes up and he's like, Sharon! Sorry, that's all I...
You want any avocados? Well, no. That's the best I got. And then, like, after the it's like, no, we're just glad you're alright. And it just immediately passes out in the food again. He's showing off pictures of his brother. Smoker knows him as Port Gaz D'Ace. And we forget he's one of Whitebeard's pirates. Well, that's weird. He's white. He's one of Whitebeard's pirates, but he was looking for Blackbeard. Interesting. And then I loved like just how it, because I mean you get all this little information and disposition and little goofiness, but I love like the ending shot of the chapter where it's Luffy dead sprint towards a restaurant and Ace being like, "I'm just looking for my key, brother."
Please, anything he says, say it in Australian.
I can't do an Australian accent is the issue.
You did all right. You didn't do bad.
You did better than I would have, but I don't try to do these because I know that I fucking suck at them, so...
Also, he's getting the introduction little, like, emblem thing, but he's not, like, full body shot.
But they did make sure to give, like, a really good full body shot of him, so...
Yeah.
I'm not wondering what he looks like from the shoulders down.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see more. Anyway.
What a surprise. But yeah, that's all I got. Like, again, like, a lot, this is one of those more, like, a lot of information getting passed along, but that's all I got. Oh, also, Usopp's...
I love the classic Dylan pass-off, and then...
It's just
it happens more often.
I got to the end, and it's like we were talking about, like, maybe not great idea things, and then I got to the Usopp drawing corner, and I was like, yeah, no, you probably shouldn't have done that one either. That's a little
Which one?
iffy.
Oh, yeah. He has no connection to that culture whatsoever.
True. It's just being from where I'm from, it's like,
also, Dylan, I wasn't
in trouble.
I wasn't speaking sarcastically. I do love it when you're like, that's all I got. Except
I turned the page and noticed something I didn't notice before.
I do actually love it. It makes me laugh on the inside when
it's
I'm
a
listening
Dylan
back.
signature now.
On the outside.
If you did it every chapter, I don't think it would ever get old, honestly.
We barely notice. But we do notice.
It's not like you notice a lot.
Oh, I have to notice.
Yeah, he edits it.
Yeah,
he knows.
listened to it about like 4 or 5 times before
That's
the
all I
final
got. And then, yeah.
But yeah.
So, my turn, I guess? Yeah. So, I mean, first thing right off the bat, chapter 157, a sea kitty. Wow. Momu is much cuter, but still.
Hard to disagree.
Momu's pretty cute.
Momu is adorable. The sea cat, he doesn't look real enough. He doesn't have any emotion. Momu was full of emotion and pain and love and hope. Momu was perfect.
And hope.
Still, the sea cat doesn't look too menacing. And as Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji are pointing out at page 3, there's a lot of good meat on this baby. But apparently, as far as Alabasta customs go, they're not for eating. They're kind of like cows in India. They're to be worshipped.
In parts of India.
And not yum-yummed on. As Dylan pointed out, I really liked seeing the wide shot of the Baroque Works fleet of ships over pages 6 and 7. I feel like it did a really good job at kind of building on the excitement, on building on the scope of things and how many people are actually expected to be, converging on the same spot. And, I can also appreciate Zoro's confidence as he says, "Fools, forget these little fish." Like, he knows that they're after something much bigger, and I'm like, that's the big dick energy.
Perspective.
It's the big dick energy lesson. He's so confident, and I love it. And I personally thought that it was a good strategy to tie the pieces of cloth on their left arm. And I guess I was speculating, or I was thinking that Mr. 2 can't clone what they're wearing, because in the previous volume, or not the previous volume, the previous chapter, when he clones himself, he's still wearing his own clothes, I think, right? So I think he can, what I'm deducing is that he can clone the body, but not necessarily what the person is wearing. So by that metric, I think the tying of the cloth on their arm could be beneficial, but I think we have yet to see the extent of Mr. 2's powers, and I don't know how far it goes quite yet. But for now, it seemed to me like it was a pretty decent strategy. I also really liked the pages 10 and 11 when they're all bringing their friendship fist in. I thought that was adorable. I thought it's really I know, cool. And again, good perspective shot. We see, the whole crew's there, and they're, Luffy's like, all right, let's go ashore. I like that a lot. I have to say, as I had a little bit of like a flashback at page 12 when the ship is approaching the shore. I'm reminded of how much trouble they got into the last time they got to shore somewhere and started eating the food they were given, i.e. Whiskey Peak. That turned into a whole thing, and it seems like they're kind of getting themselves back in a similar situation. Or at least at the time when I was reading it. Again, I take my notes as I read, so not quite the same scenario, but still I had that moment of, oh, what are they going to get themselves into again? Yeah, big... Dylan touched on it. Big thanks to the editor for the note in the margin of page 14 as we see a clear shot of Ace's tattoo. I won't go back into that conversation. As I mentioned when Dylan was talking about it, we've spoken about it in a previous episode. But while I understand that the associated symbolism is super grim and delicate to discuss, especially for Western people, I also understand that there's a cultural distinction to be made here. It made me a little uncomfortable. Like, I was like, oh, I had that little bit of, like, whiplash. But I sincerely believe that there's no bad intent there. And so I'm like, okay, yeah. It looks a little odd for me to see, but I'm okay. Like, I don't take any sort of offense or I don't see this as something that is meant to be offensive.
Well,
it just
matter
is.
in hell.
Why isn't it bigger?
And yeah, also as Dylan pointed out, noticing the tattoo on his arm at the top of page 15 with the S crossed out as if the tattoo artist misspelled his name. I thought that was really funny.
In my head, it was like he was spelling it out for him. It was like A, S, no, wait, C.
Wait. Fuck.
Oh, you already wrote it?
And then, yeah, so we don't get quite a whole body shot, but at page 16, you do see Ace sat down. And you see his whole body kind of as an introductory image to the character. I think he's hot. I like his look. And, obviously he's attractive, but I also really like his hat with the little smiley faces on it. And whatever weapon he has on his hip, I think it's some sort of dagger.
It's a big dagger. It's almost a short sword.
Yeah, but like, and I think I actually have it written in my notes a little bit later on. I like the freckles. I think they're cute. And yeah, we have a little bit of a haughty showdown at pages 18 and 19 with the close-up of Smoker's face as he confronts Ace, and the next page shows us Ace's shit-eating grin, but still manages to be quite charismatic. Like, it's off to a good start. Yeah, I enjoyed this introduction of Ace as a character, and I am looking forward to seeing more. And then, yeah, it finishes, I'm sure Luffy running towards the restaurant isn't going to backfire. It probably is going to backfire. But yeah, pretty good continuation of the beginning of this volume. That's what I had for 157.
I personally love the sea cat. Blows Momu out of the water.
Disagree.
But I may be biased there. He shows so much emotion, hope, pride.
First of all, how
chaos. Right next to that Luffy psycho panel where he's screaming, food and his eyes are all twirl, right to the right of it is Nami just sitting there completely unaware of the giant monster in the background. She's just worried about getting there on time. and yeah, it's just two of my favorite characters, Sea Cat and Nami, right there in one panel. I also love Chopper just completely buying into Usopp's nonsense. He hasn't been around long enough to know better. Very cute. And then, on 10 and 11, that big two-paneler, well, full page is strong, or full two-pager is a strong word, but yeah, we'll count it. I truly feel like that panel is the absolute beginning of the adventure in Alabasta, more or less.
Yeah.
Like this is where everything disconnects and then reconnects into this next adventure. Also, the restaurant was called Spice Bean. I like that. If a restaurant's called Spice Bean, I'm
also in.
I don't like beans, but I like spice.
I'm looking up the menu.
That's right. Dylan doesn't like beans.
What?
But he also doesn't like seafood, so we're brothers in that.
I'll try some seafood.
I'll eat anything.
Right. He will try seafood, listeners. And then, yes, I said someone seems a little smoky on that next page, and it's, of course, Smoker. Good to see him back. Did you guys know that you were going to see him again? Did you know you were going to see him again relatively
I had an inkling that we would see him, but maybe not as soon as we did.
Yeah.
But I knew he would come back.
Like, I'd kind of forgotten about it. It's like, oh, yeah, that's right. They did go looking for him. So now I'm thinking, where the fuck's Buggy and Alvita? Because they left at the same time. So they're probably somewhere around.
Did they? Just the standoff between Ace and Smoker. At this point, you're not sure what's going on, but you know that these are two people who, one, do not fear each other.
That's true.
Right? They kind of seem like bros.
And
there's I
don't know if I got bros.
Not bros, but there's a familiarity about them.
Exactly.
Like rivals.
Exactly. You know that Smoker's high enough in the rankings to kind of know what's going on, who's who.
There's still a respect there.
Yeah.
Like not a respect, but an understanding of who they are.
It's like, this is a game we probably shouldn't play.
Yeah.
And that kind of develops a little further. But yeah, I mean, he knows exactly his title and where he stands in the world, more or less. And yeah, I liked it. And of course, Luffy running in was a nice little cherry on top of that, because you know something's
about to happen. Yeah.
It is a good little build up here. But yeah, just to conclude, we are in Alabasta, and I feel this chapter opens things up a little bit with Ace and Smoker. Like, I don't know that on my first reading, I knew exactly what was going on. Again, my first reading would be some time ago. So I'm trying to kind of put myself in older shoes. But yeah, it's nice. The wide panel with ships, I do want to call out Dylan. I think there's something to a fleet, effectively. Maybe not a full fleet, but a large gathering of ships.
Yeah.
At least cluing off someone what the fuck's going on. But it's not crazy enough that I can't just move past it. It helps kind of recognize the stakes, kind of keep your mind on the bigger picture. Very cool chapter, lots of funny moments, some cool moments. Front to back, I loved this chapter, honestly. But yeah, that's 157 for me. 158 is V.
It's me! And kind of to what you were just saying, Michael, the first thing I would kind of like to note as we're stepping into Alabasta, like properly, like we've made our way to Alabasta, now we're there, is my appreciation for the shots of the city. at the top of page 2 and the bottom of page 3, we're in a new environment, and I like that Oda is giving us something to immerse ourselves in. Like, it's I think immersive is the word that really comes to mind, in that we are, stepping into this new environment, and he is putting every effort forth to say, this is where you are now, and this is where the story is going to be taking place from this point on, at least for a little bit. And I appreciate that. Also, I gotta say, bottom of page 3, I kind of want to scritch that camel's chin. I like it.
I bite and spit.
Anytime.
Heads up.
That's okay. I don't mind being spat on. But I like animals. That's something that's going to be, it's a reoccurring theme.
Oh, you're going to love this volume.
Yeah. I did like this volume. Also, just making a mental note that they do notice Mr. Three's ship in the port at the very top of page 3. Mr. Three's ship, and we do end up finding out more by the end of this volume. And okay, so I briefly touched on it. While Zoro still wins top hottie in my heart, at least for now, I have to admit Ace has one thing over him. And it's the freckles.
Oh
I love freckles. I think they're adorable. I love freckles. Makes me want to smooch him. But yeah, Ace is a hottie. That's fine. But he doesn't have the chutzpah that Zoro has for now in my heart of hearts. And so I remain #1 Zoro fan. The sequence of events over the next few pages is pretty comical, with Luffy bursting out through the walls and chowing the fuck down, and his conversation with Smoker over pages 10 and 11 while he has his mouth full of food. I just thought it was funny. It's just all of those elements coming together and converging, I thought was, like, the comedic timing on that to me was excellent. And then that's quickly followed by the little chase here at pages 12 and 13 with Tashigi trying to stop Luffy, and Luffy giving everyone the slip was really, like, to me that was nice and dynamic. And I would be curious to kind of see it animated, to see the chase, to see the movement happening. Like, Tashigi's just like, oh yes sir, Captain Smoker, need a towel, it's very hot here. And then Luffy's just bolting and she's like, oh, like I would have liked to see that in action. And then we get a little bit of like an outfit closet montage scene. We get an outfit change for everyone. I really like those desert inspired vibes. It's giving Aladdin. I'm here for it, and that's both
big
for
Aladdin fan here.
Yeah, both for the women and the men alike. It looks nice. Again, that's another way in which Oda's immersing us in this new environment. It's weather appropriate, it's culture appropriate, and I really enjoyed that. Of course, fucking Luffy screwing up their cover. Of course he would. Of course that's how it would happen. Because it's Luffy. And what else do we expect from him? Nothing. I feel like my expectations for Luffy's, like, self-awareness is already so low, and yet he still manages to go even below that. Like, he can
Here
go
he goes
lower.
again.
Yeah. Somehow he makes it worse. I really liked the last 2 pages of the chapter with the chase coming to a halt and Luffy and Ace recognizing each other. To me, that was fantastic. Again, it's another case of how I would be curious to see how the pacing of these pages and the action would translate in the anime, because it is dynamic and because it is important as far as the storytelling goes. But yeah, to me, that was a very quick chapter, a very dynamic chapter, but also a chapter that carries a lot of meaning in it. So I quite enjoyed it. And I just wanted to note the first entry in the SBS, which addresses the doubling of the font when Chess Marimo was speaking. Yeah, when Chess Marimo was speaking to illustrate the 2 voices. I'm not surprised that they would have gotten complaints about it, because it did make it, and I noted it last episode, that it did make it a little bit difficult to read at times. But at the same time, it also illustrated the concept really well. And so how else are you supposed to use the medium of the manga to express that? Like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Well put.
But yeah, just wanted to point it out because we did talk about it during the previous episode. But that's what I had for 158. Dylan?
Yeah. We get a cover shot. We see that full body, got his ass kicked. Again. The shot of the town is great. I do like that. And I also like, they're like, oh, how the hell are we going to find Luffy? And then so I was just like, go to the loudest place in town. That's where he'll be. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, of course. And even, like,
makes sense.
Karoo is just like, yeah, duh. Like, exactly. Even Karoo knows what he's like now.
Karoo says, no. So,
nod.
Or
nod.
That sounds. Oh, nod.
So okay. And then we get to see, apparently, Mr. 3 is here. Fucking great.
Sounds like I'm so excited.
Wow, I'm so excited to see somebody who died and came back, and then died, and then came back again.
I don't know if he died.
Yeah,
we thought he died in Logtown, and then he came back. Was on.
Mr. 3? You mean Little Garden?
Oh, I was thinking. I thought Mr. 3 was Mr. 5, the booger guy. I was
also not in Logtown, but I gotcha. I'm following.
Not Logtown. Whiskey Pete, because they beat Booger Guy and his partners there, and I thought they had died there.
Who's Booger Guy?
Mr. 5, the guy with the
boom boom fruit.
Oh,
yeah.
The explosives. Yeah. Booger Guy.
And I thought he had died in Whiskey Pete, but they showed up again and so.
Right. I gotcha.
It's not as big a fake out death as the giant. Okay. Again, I will maybe die on this hill, but it's okay, I'll get over it.
It's just the way they explain it. It's like, oh, the weapons were dull. It's like, yeah, but when you get
shut up, man,
chopped like a couple inches deep on your collarbone, you're fucked. That's like all the big boys are in that area. Big boys being veins, and I'm pretty sure he bled there for a couple hours.
Anyway, I'm with you on that one, Dylan.
But then you get to see the kind of like stand down in the tavern. Just makes me like kind of think like in the background like wah. Wah, wah, wah. Just gives real Western vibes.
Western
music? Good bad music.
Yeah.
Great. Have you never seen that movie? Fucking watch it. Amazing movie. Spaghetti westerns, man. And then of course you get like more of what I was talking about earlier, like the dynamic between the two of them. Looking at it more, and the more I think about it, it's like it's giving me kind of like Shanks Buggy vibes. Where it's like they used to, because there's a line that comes later and I'll point out, it's like they might have been shipmates before, but then he decided, I want to be a pirate now. And it's like, oh, well, now I can't be your friend anymore because you're a pirate. I'll point it out when the line comes up. And then the look, Luffy's face when he's running around sniffing, did not like that.
No? I thought it was hilarious.
It's like, ugh. If I ever see a motherfucker running through the streets like that, I'm like, damn, these crackheads getting crazy out here. And then, like, it's like, give yourself up, no can do. And then after that, it's like, I'm looking for another pirate now, I'm not interested. Then let me go, can't do that. And this is the line, as long as I'm in the Navy and you're still a pirate. Which made me think, it's like, oh, they might have been, like, close before, like, not enemies, not even frenemies, but, like, rivals. Like, just, like I hate...
Rival bros?
Yeah, like I hate... I hate
yeah.
your guts, but, like, you push me to do better, so I love you.
Like, definitely a rivalry, but one where you kind of, again, I think I said that already, where you have an understanding and a respect of each other.
Yeah, there's an admiration
but there's still
underneath
that sense of yeah, exactly.
It's like, I need to be better than you because I respect the shit out of you.
Right, because that's what drives me. That gives me the motivation.
Of course, freaking Luffy decides the best way to enter a restaurant is a terminal velocity. And Gum rockets his way in.
That's how I show up to a restaurant when I'm really hungry.
Why does he Gum rocket?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that was a little overkill.
I mean, he hasn't eaten in like 5 days, so. But then, I like the line that Ace had before that. It's like, that's a dumb reason, can't we try to get along? It's like, okay, Ace, you might. Might be dumb like your brother, but you might be a sensible person.
Definitely seems to have more sense than Luffy.
Well, they're related, but maybe one's just older than the other?
I think that's the dynamic, is that Ace is the older brother.
Yeah. As the younger sibling? Yeah. We're dumbasses.
I just I love the cooks look at the hole in the wall as they both go flying through it, and then the shot of just Luffy sitting at the table, like, Mr. Food, hungry, me eat now, hungry, and the chef's like, dude, like you should probably leave. Those guys were looking for you. You need to leave. I like how Ace is just like in the middle of somebody's like kitchen, and he just like gets up, bows, like, sorry for disturbing your meal. It's like, oh, what a gentleman! Look at the manners on this guy.
Yeah.
And then he goes stomping back. He sees Luffy eating at a table, and he's like, oh my god, it's Luffy. Hey, Luffy. And then Smoker just comes out of nowhere. And of course, Smoker's trying to do like, haha, so you actually showed up. And Luffy's still just stuffing his face. Like, stop eating! I love that.
In the next panel, Luffy has to take a second to like
process
at least
it.
This is the way Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the panel after that's like, you that moke guy.
What do you do here?
Yeah, I kind of love those. Day by planes.
Yeah, when he writes down the things as they're being heard and not as they're actually supposed to be written. Yeah, I like that.
I do
too.
appreciate the little subtitles, quote unquote, just in case.
Just in case, yeah.
Banks Buddha booed and then fucking shoves it on his mouth and runs.
I mean, that's me.
And I love it's like you kind of see how the brothers are very similar.
Dine and Dash.
Yeah, it's like he didn't pay, which is when we first met Ace. It's like yeah, I'm just looking for this guy. So if you see him, tell him to go to Alabasta. Then it's like, wait, you didn't pay, and he's like, all right, thanks, and runs away.
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny.
It's a family thing.
Yeah, I thought it was a funny little callback. Like Smoker calls for tissue. He's like, yes, sir. Do you need a towel? It is quite hot. It's like, I don't want a towel when it's hot. That's like, I want shade.
A wet towel.
A wet towel, I guess, but it's like, ugh. And then she kind of because this show kind of really shows Luffy's acrobatic abilities in a way I feel like we haven't really seen before. But she draws the blade on and you see he kind of flips up the building. And it's always the way his portraying outline is done when he does these things. Where he's kind of it looks like he's haphazardly just flying around. But it reminds me of when he was fighting Don Creek. Where it's like he was being a goofy monkey the whole time. And it's like you kind of...
Oh, yeah.
And the way that's shown, that's kind of bringing that back to the forefront. And of course, Smoker is just oh, well, I'm not acrobatic. I could just turn into smoke. It just flies up there. Cool ability, not gonna lie. Kind of interesting to see more of...
Would you say it's one of your favorites you've seen?
I'd say out of, besides Luffy, Smoker's Devil Fruit powers seem the most interesting. I'm more intrigued by his. Because the utility of his shit seems really, he had that little...
When he was using it as turbines?
Yeah, the quad bike or whatever he had, and it was, using the smoke for turbine engine. Yeah, that was cool as shit.
I feel like that's such a guy thing to say.
We like smoke.
Hell yeah, brother.
Motorcycles.
We like when things go vroom vroom. Okay, boys.
Oh my god, for Freckles.
Wait.
Oh no!
Okay, I just got destroyed. I just got annihilated. You
Not
want
the
to
first time.
No, it's not.
And then we do get the nice little clothing change. It's tits, yeah. But no, it's of course Sanji's oh yeah, it's these are dancers' clothes. It's of course you did, you fucking pervert. It's hey, pick out outfits for us. Okay, I want to get the skimpiest thing I can fucking find. I also like the detail of you gotta see Chopper struggling with the fact that he's in you gotta think the vibes this area's giving us kind of India desert, Middle East, where spices are really prevalent and there's really strong scents. And he's having a really hard time with it.
He has his animal nose and he's oh my god, overwhelmed. Yeah.
And Nami's kind of a bitch because it's he's suffering and it's oh, the poor fruits are too much for my nose. And it's oh, you mean this? It's you.
I thought the same thing. Damn.
Like a middle schooler in a fucking locker room with axe.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
I call this shower in a can.
It was a phase.
I did shower too. I will say I did shower, but I was also in actually shower. I don't know. I just thought it was going to get me at least a kiss.
It's if not more. I can still smell it. It's been decades, guys.
What's the issue? Is at that age you don't
smell it.
You don't use the appropriate amount. You just use shitloads of it.
No. If you listen for perfume or fragrance or whatever, if you can smell yourself, you've put too much on.
With sprays like that, it's always an X across the chest. That's all it takes. Well, psst, psst, done.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Just shower, guys.
Yeah.
For any of our listeners out here that might not be showering, please shower.
I do love the thing. It's they're all talking, going to their parents, all right, we gotta be secretive. And they're oh, what the fuck, the Navy? It's oh, fuck, Luffy's getting chased. Hey, guys! It's god damn it. And then you see Ace and Smoker square off.
Yeah, you do.
And this is another thing that kind of brings me back to that dynamic we was talking about earlier with the two of them. The line, you may be smoke, but I'm fire. We're too evenly matched to settle this now. Because my thought is maybe
I had a mental note
mismatched before, but somebody else got fruit powers, and now they're evenly matched. Maybe that's my thing. Maybe they're friends and everything, but Smoker went to the Navy and got the smoke fruit, and he was all right, well, I'll never meet you there. I'm going to go with pirates to get my own devil fruit. And now we're evenly matched. Little theory I got. But yeah, that is it. Hold on.
All right.
Hold on, actually, give me a sec.
Oh,
there we
the
go.
Dylan double...
Oda, honey, I have a
Dip.
question.
He's double dipping.
The double dip. Dylan double dip.
That's going to be a thing from now on. The Dylan double dip.
Oh, the Oda, honey, I have a question. Volume 17, page 176, panel 6. What is Chopper doing? It looks to me like he's doing that dirty old man dance that Ken Shimura does. Am I right?
Funny you brought this up, because I actually tried Googling that.
Well, Ken Shimura, that's been brought up before in an SBS. I think it's like a Japanese comedian or something.
I looked it up. I did not look too deep into it, but on the handful of results Google gave me up front, I couldn't find Dirty Old Man Dance.
Yeah, I'm not going to Google Dirty Old Man Dance. Ken Shimura, maybe.
I Googled Ken Shimura. Okay, I didn't just Google Dirty Old Man Dance. Come on.
Where did you Google that, on Pornhub?
Pornhub's a site, not a search engine, so no, I wouldn't Google
Also, we're in North Carolina. That site's actually banned.
Is it really?
Yes.
Oh,
it's not banned. It's not banned, but
we have to send a license to our. We have to send an ID, a proof of age ID shot.
Are you
to
serious?
a porn site.
I'm sorry.
That's not happening.
Like that's kind of crazy to me. Anyway, it's fine.
It's nonsense.
I'm not saying I was just there 2 days
there
ago.
Are others. I don't watch porn. Wink, wink. But there are other websites that do not have such a requirement.
And also, it's like, who the fuck's going to send in a form of ID to a porn site? No! That is such a bad idea.
That's fucking ridiculous. Just let people watch porn. Oh my god.
There are millions of other places.
Pornhub's
just following the law.
I know, but anyway, it's still ridiculous. The concept in and of itself is ridiculous.
That just screams like fucking like governor or something way past their time making laws.
It's literally just porn, guys.
But it's like our senators or anything. It's like, oh, this is porn's the devil. We can't have that in our society. It needs to be banned unless you're 18. Like,
anyway.
Yeah, we can have a podcast devoted to North Carolina fucking laws.
A pretty fucking boring podcast.
And have me as the guest, the Canadian guest.
I don't want to do that podcast ever.
We don't have to. Where were we at?
We were watching porn, I think. Talking about porn.
I believe it is you for 158.
Yes. I wrote, oh great, Mr. 3 is back. Woo. Boo. Because I also am not super excited about his part in this. Just let him fade into the background. But yeah, this chapter, I'm not going to go through part by part. I'm just going to talk about it holistically, and then I might repeat myself in my final thoughts. But the chase was so good. Luffy, Ace, Smoker, 3 incredibly interesting characters with some of the most interesting devil fruit powers. Caveat on Ace, fire power is not something that hasn't been done a million times before, and that's okay. I'm not taking anything away from him. It's cool, but it's not like, whoa.
It's something special. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved Luffy's hamster cheeks while he's running with the food. Like, that's got to be weighing him down a little bit. That can't be great to run with. And then I also noted that, like, wow, Nami, why would you spray that fucking perfume right in Chopper's face? That's so fucked up. Seems like you guys had a good thing going. Chopper's just like, I'm gonna remember that, bitch. He doesn't say that, but that's how I viewed it. Yeah, Vivi and Nami in their new outfits, looking lovely. And then Luffy just like calling them out. Such a Luffy move. Like V said, just when you think he couldn't be less aware, he proves you wrong. And then the ending was super cool. Ace stepping in for little bro. He's like, wait. All right, Smoker.
I'm the only one that can bully him.
Yeah. And we touch on something like that, I think, in the next chapter or the one after. Either way, their relationship gets fun. But this chapter was a lot of fun. It didn't feel super intense or dire, and I'm not taking anything away from that. I like the lightheartedness of this chase, even though the consequences of Smoker capturing Luffy would be dire. It was breezy and loose, but still very interesting. It introduced important characters and moments in a very entertaining, almost silly way. Again, something that One Piece does well. I think that this chapter was One Piece being One Piece at its core. And
I would agree with that, yeah.
159's Dylan.
Okay. That's all I got, but... Just kidding.
It sounded like you said that's all I got.
It is.
Like that was your whole...
Yeah, it's like, that's all I got. Oh, but also...
Oh,
freaking
he
villain.
was doing a bit.
And then
He was doing a bit.
Django comes back in to save the day.
I thought I misheard him. So, Dylan, you seem to really enjoy this cover.
Yeah,
It's a fun little story because Django was a fun character. Like
I know you
was.
the whole like
I did too.
Michael Jackson vibe that he's just drips, and it's just like the fact that he's in his perfect scenario. He's in Funky Town as a failed dancer.
I want to be in Funky Town.
Funky Town. That's such a long song too. I was not aware how long of a song that was. It's like after hearing Funky Town for like the 80th time, I was like, oh, there's more. But it's just like the whole idea. It's like, oh, he wins a tournament there. Everyone fucking loves him. It's like he could thrive here. Like
I think actually later on in this volume we have a proper name drop of Full Body.
does it actually okay?
Now at this point we know, but there is I think later on in terms of the intro image stories in one of the titles.
right.
Yeah, this is actually Full Body. Yeah.
And then those of you who didn't notice, wow. What are you, blind? What, you did not see "Oh Come My Way" on the
Right?
jacket? Fucking idiot.
Did you not read the first 100 chapters?
Right?
And then we get to see Smoker's ship, which I like. Kind of like the look of it.
It's very plain
Yeah,
compared to some of the
it's just like...
You remember
It's
Garfield?
classic. It's classic.
Well, for him, like this is just like a Crown Civic. Like when it comes to police cars, he's got the Crown Civic with the fucking boats.
Crown Vic?
Isn't that the Crown Civic, Crown Vic, whatever?
I think it's like Crown Victoria. Is
Yeah,
what it's short
the
for.
Ford
I think you're right,
four-door
Michael.
sedan. I think-
Yes, I had a buddy who had one, and he was like, "That's a cop car."
Well, that's not a bad idea to buy them because most of the time those fleet cars were well maintained.
Yeah,
And then we get to see. I guess we get to see Mr. 11 die.
He'll be back.
Yeah, honestly. But he's like, "Oh, I'm going to get out of here," and then some agents show up. And I like the fact that it's like we do indeed work for Baroque Works, but we're billions. And it says text on the shirt. It says full-fledged. Even though their whole thing is like, well, I'm going to kill you so I can advance. It's like, are you full-fledged then? Like, if you have to kill somebody to go higher, like, huh?
It's like an MLM.
yeah.
It's a pyramid scheme. Baroque Works is a
There's
pyramid
something to
scheme.
that, actually.
I'm just saying.
I love pyramid schemes. Would love to be a part of one someday.
But, you're made a vast... Once you post this out, you're going to have so many fucking emails.
Yeah, please. Notice me.
Notice me. But I like the explanation of it's like, oh, well, like, there's the potential to become officer agents, but a vacancy has to come up. So a lot of times, if they get the chance, they will kill one of the agents to take their spot. So that was cool. We get the little flashback that apparently Ace and Luffy had a chance to have a small little interaction when Smoker showed up. And he was like, just get out of here. I'll catch up after I deal with these guys. And the fact that Luffy immediately, like, because I would expect Luffy to kind of like dig his heels up, like, no, I haven't seen you till blah, 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 blah. But his brother says that, and he immediately turns around and is like, all right, go, let's get out of here. It shows you how much, like, he looks up to his big brother, I guess. And I was like, who's that guy?
Well, I feel like
hot.
it's a... I mean, yeah, but I feel like this is also kind of the precursor to another one of these relationships where there's a common understanding of one another, but there's still a rivalry. I feel like Ace and Luffy will end up having that type of relationship down the line. I don't know. This is just speculation.
Well, some of the
but
stuff we hear on later, it's kind of was that, like, the brother rivalry.
Yeah.
So you guys would assume this is probably not the last time we see Ace?
Yeah, if it was, I'd be kind
It
of
would
surprised.
be stupid if it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then I would definitely be like,
Come
why
on.
the fuck did you introduce him in the first place?
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Because my biggest quip about it is, like, just out of nowhere, it's like, yeah, I'm Luffy's brother. It's like, okay, 100
And
chapters
I'm done.
in, and
And you're
then,
like, no.
oh, you have a brother. Where was your brother?
I don't think there's anything wrong with
It
that.
was weird to me. It seemed like it was, like, a little shoehorned. I was like, why was he never around when he was, like, interacting with Shanks or anything when he was a kid? Like, what? What was it?
Maybe he'd already left on his pirate journey.
Nah,
Or whatever.
I got some stuff to say. Let's move on past this, and I'll bring up your concerns. But just know that
I'll talk more about it later because they kind of talk about how they interacted as kids, and it's like, okay, there's definitely a chance to be like, hey, Luffy has a brother. Maybe don't go into detail, but like have it shown. It's like, oh, he's got a family. Because from all I know, it was like, I looked at him, it's like, he's an orphan who likes to hang around bars with pirates. Like, that's what I was looking at Luffy like. And then Karoo gets a vital mission to give a letter to explain Baroque Works' plot and that Vivi is alive.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I love
and it's just like, now you would drink your water really sparingly in the desert, and as he's sprinting off, he's just downing that shit.
He's just slurping on it. I know. I love that.
Me as fuck.
Somehow
Me as fuck
I
with
still
my soda
trust
at
him
the
more
movie
than I
right
do
before the
Luffy.
movie starts.
That's me,
Like,
Dylan. Stop.
Trying to get a refill in before the movie starts. It's like, oh shit.
You finished 3/4 of your drink of your popcorn, and the movie hasn't even started yet.
Hey,
At
man,
that point,
those
you gotta
previews are
You
good.
gotta speed rush it so you can get a refill before the movie actually starts. My issue is I always end up having to piss really bad, like 3/4 of the way in the movie. It's like, oh god! And then they scream conserve water, and of course, Sanji has to scream it at Luffy too.
Looks like Luffy's just pouring that barrel down his fucking head.
Well, he got kicked in the head, so I assume he was just chugging the shit out of it. And Usopp's
Like a toddler with a sippy cup.
yeah, and even Usopp's like, you idiot, we just bought that water. Everybody kind of finds out. It's like, oh yeah, that's my big brother. Ace is 3 years older than me. He left the island 3 years earlier. Like Sanji kind of like hit the nail on the head, like how I was feeling about it. It's like, yeah, wow, that's, imagine that. 2 brothers who both ate devil fruit. And then it also kind of like brings the point. It's like, okay, like I was led to believe they're kind of a bit of a rarity, but now it's starting to show up. It's like, no, they're not. They're actually super fucking common. It's just people are well aware of the risk of it, so not many people eat them.
You know what? Let me pop in here real quick on this point. So, yes, I think Oda definitely underplayed or overplayed his hand at the beginning.
Yeah, because the first couple volumes is like, oh, this is like,
I feel like
this is the crew's big treasure.
To readjust course. Yeah.
Because why would you not throw... If you have the creativity and the idea, why would you not use it to its fullest extent? I think it's a great gimmick. I don't know if that's the right word I want to use here, but that's the word I'm going to use.
I think that's fair.
Yes, they are way more common. However, 2, not only do we have a number of crew members who do not have any devil fruit power whatsoever, but also there are so many people just occupying the world who do not. Look at the port of Nanohana. Right when you came in, there's tons of people. Maybe some of them have devil fruit powers, but it certainly wasn't brought up. The world is a big place. And
right, but it feels like all of the characters that matter
yes,
do end up having devil fruit
What's like all the
That
power
devil fruit-
players.
Like even Wapol had devil fruit powers.
exactly. That's what I was about to say, Dylan. The people who have devil fruit powers are a step above Johnny, who works at let me say Ricky, who works at the restaurant. His power.
Well, speaking of Johnny and Yosuku don't
Johnny
have
and not Johnny.
That's why I reversed. I was like, no, I don't want to say
But they got
Johnny.
their asses kicked a lot.
They also kicked some ass, kind of. They were tough.
they're still-
I miss them.
They survived, which was impressive. Like,
I know, I love them.
Yeah. They were such normies. But yes,
I know,
normies
but
exist.
good
And
normies.
they do bump shoulders with the devil fruit people. But, you know, there's this different layer. Like, friggin' Ricky is not Johnny. No, let's say Johnny. Let's say Johnny and Yosuke. They're not going to go take on Arlong themselves. He doesn't even have devil fruit powers. He's just a tough guy. They're not going to take on, you know, Baroque Works with all the devil fruit powers that could ever be wanted. I get where you're coming from.
well, for me,
but yes,
it's just the way
it
it
will
was
be more common.
originally portrayed. Like, the pirate crews that had these on hand, it's like, no, this is like our greatest treasure. Like, we guard this deal. Like, this is like the creme de la creme of all of our booty. This is the most valuable thing we have.
Yep. 100%.
And then now it's starting
right.
to show where it's like, well, I mean, okay, yeah, but it's like they're not. I feel like if you spend a little time trying to source information for one, you could find one without an
You
extreme.
also got to be tough enough to get it.
Yeah, but
Tough. You got to be tough or lucky.
Or stupid. Sorry. I'm just
well, it's
saying.
even at the point where it seems like with Drum Island is that there was like families who had
So,
like
Dylan, that
orchards.
theory.
Like that's what it seemed like a
yeah,
generational
you said
thing.
that, you thought that, but I'll go ahead and say that was not what they were referring to. The Zoan fruit. You will learn more about what a Zoan fruit is in the future, I think. But it was not the family's own orchard.
Okay, well, that made me think. It's like maybe the family.
That's a spoiler, but it's the
I
small.
was thinking it's like maybe the family has a tree, and every generation, the one who's going to be the patriarch of the
I
family.
didn't catch on to that at
eats it.
all.
That's okay, V.
I will remain stupid and ignorant.
Yeah, there's no devil fruit orchard that people
And
can
also
just
cute.
harvest from. Yeah, there you go. Fill your role.
And then another one,
And that's all I'm going to say.
and then
Go on. Sorry.
kind of more touch on like the weirdness of it to me. Like, just like it's even been like, okay, let's throw him in here. Let's make him a thing. even when Ace hadn't eaten the devil fruit and I still couldn't beat him up. He's tough, that Ace. So it's like he was definitely around for a lot of the interaction with Shanks. Or for all of the interactions with Shanks. So it's weird to me that that his brother is getting in fights with these mountain bandits and his older brother isn't there with him to defend him. You know what I mean?
That will be touched on later. Luffy will get backstory, and you will see his upbringing. Again, that's probably a spoiler, but I don't think it's a huge one. You will see Luffy's childhood.
Well, then, like Usopp's line, I guess the big brother of a beast is an even bigger beast. And then Luffy's being like a little cocksure. He's like, well, yeah, now I can beat him. And so I was like, sure. He's like, I know, buddy. Sure you can. And then Ace has a great entrance. Just arriving. and yeah, like definitely big brother energy. He's like, who can you be, little bitch?
Yeah.
Just why you punching, huh?
Just walks up to him.
Pussy. I was good to see. That was fun. I like his talking to the crew, and it's just like, because from what you see is like the crew, like the rest of the crew, like really likes Ace after only knowing Ace for a little bit. As he shows up and he's like, oh, thanks for looking after my kid, brother. And they all because he bows. Okay, now he bows to them, says thanks for looking for my brother. They all bow back. Don't mention it. I think that's just more of the cultural manners and stuff. And then he throws out the line. It's like, all right, I'm here on a minor matter of business, but while I have you, why don't you join my captain's crew? And then your crewmates can come as well. It's like we'd be a strong team. And then Luffy kind of gives him a heart, like in bold, like no thanks. It's like the fact that it's in bold seems very important to me. It's like it seems like he.
What page is that?
10, top of 10, rightmost panel. So, like, the way I'm taking this, the no thanks, is he put the offer out, and before he even finished saying the offer, he was like, no.
No.
And then Ace, like, laughing, I was like, no, I thought I'd ask.
Luffy does not, he could never be subordinate to someone else.
Well, the thing is, you hear this line right here. Whitebeard is the greatest pirate I've ever known. I'm going to help him become king of the pirates. It's not going to be you, Luffy. I think if Shanks had come to Luffy and was like, hey, I want to be king of the pirates, and I need your help, Luffy wouldn't have batted an eye and joined his crew.
Maybe. I think there's something to what you're saying. I think Luffy had that kind of admiration.
The level of just like, because I think that's the way I'm reading it, is that Whitebeard is Ace's Shanks. It's like there's just.
But I would say since we last saw Shanks, Luffy has probably
he's past the point. Right? It's like no, he's like I'm charting my own course, which I think is what you would want me to do anyways.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to join your crew. But if he gotten offered it before he set sail himself, I think he would have for sure.
Yeah.
And Luffy's like, all right, fine by me. And then I guess we got to fight. And then good to see a little more of a. I like seeing the Aces like doing the firewall to get away. Kind of seeing that portrayed in that panel was really nice on 11. So I kind of want to see more of his power. I want to see more of his fighting. I hope we get a chance to see him like kind of pulling out all the stops. And then we kind of get a little more information given because Smoker's aware. It's like this is a huge country. If they get away, we'll never catch them. It's like the second we lose sight of them, they're gone. And the bottom of that same page, Vivi was with those guys. He recognized Princess Vivi. That's pretty big. That's got to be important. And also, more of kind of like drawing back to like that respect, admiration, rivalry thing we're talking about between Ace and Smoker. There's a Smoker at the bottom, just like bottom of 12. Tashigi, remember one thing: once a pirate, always a pirate. So I think they might have been like crewmates and best friends that he decided to become a pirate.
Does seem a little,
and he feels betrayed.
Angry.
Yeah.
It's
like I love you and I respect the shit out of you, but like, you betrayed me. Yeah. And I can't forgive you for it.
There. Mm-hmm.
And then Ace gives him some paper. And I love the line, a kid brother like you makes a big brother worry.
He does care.
Yeah. But I get it. I would be terrified to have Luffy as a younger sibling.
I don't know. It might be one of those things after seeing a couple things. It's like, bro, I've done all I can do to help you. It's on you. Sorry, bro. Figure it out.
There's not much he can do for him at this point as far as Luffy's gone.
And then also another great example of, I'm jumping ahead a bit, of where devil fruit people are finding ways to create contraptions to bring a large amount of utility to from their powers. Because you see, Ace has got this little motorized little skiff, skateboard, like surfboard thing, and he's using his fire powers to power it. Because you see his feet are aflame, and it's basically redirecting into like a jet turbine, it looks like.
Yeah. You know he fucking flies with that shit.
Yeah. And then I love that just the whole scene of him coming up on the Baroque work ships. And the way, like, the fire... Oh, my God. Just the way he fights him. I love the fact that he just, like, stomps his thing underground. And then it's like Tony Hawk shit. It's like doing a fucking hit.
My thoughts.
Doing like a hippie jump while fucking nuking a fucking fleet of ships. But he sends it underwater, jumps over the ships, hits them all with a fire fist while doing it, and just completely decimates like 5 ships. Damn. And the 2-page shot of like the destruction. It's really fucking good. I like that a lot. And also like I love the outro image of Ace. Where he's just got the little flicker of flame, and he just kind of like swipes the brim of his hat. He's like, I'll see you on the high seas. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
All right, this dude pretty fucking rad.
Yeah.
This dude's kind of fucking radical. Sitting there fucking doing fucking laser flips, ending people's lives.
Yeah.
That's all I got. Please.
Yeah. So kind of what I was saying earlier, in that it feels to me like Baroque Works is a little bit of a pyramid scheme. I guess I never really thought of how people within Baroque Works could try and harm each other in order to climb up the proverbial ladder of their organization. Like, it feels a little toxic. But
it's
then
not
again,
a great workplace.
No. But then again, this is a criminal organization, or, you know, it's maybe I should have seen it coming, but it was still a little bit surprising to me to have that moment of realization of, oh shit, they're like competing, like they're actively trying to get over one another. I had, you know, me being a Karoo fangirl at the bottom of page 5, I was just thinking, oh god, I hope nothing happens to Karoo while he's delivering the message to the king. And I love his look of determination at the bottom of page 6 as he's scurrying away with the straw in his beak. You know, he's being told conserve water, meanwhile he's just running away with the straw in his beak, drinking the contents of his little barrel. I don't know.
It's so good.
It's so cute. That bottom shot of page 6 is so good.
Slurp,
I
slurp,
love it.
slurp, slurp.
And then, like, as he's running away, I don't know. It was so good. And then I wrote in my notes, "You got this, Karoo. I believe in you. Be safe." Like...
That's such a B thing to write.
I still want him to do exactly what he's supposed to do and be happy and be alive and not get murdered by anyone.
Or dehydrated in the
or
desert.
captured, or dehydrated is an important one. In the desert? Come on. Yeah, so love that little bit of a Karoo moment we have in this chapter. And then we do find out that Luffy and Ace are brothers. I'm assuming that they're biological brothers. They look alike, but I'm curious to find out more about that relationship. We do get a little bit of insight on that at the top of page 8 when Luffy mentions that Ace is a tough cookie, being unable to beat him even after he'd eaten a devil fruit. So as Dylan mentioned, that's something kind of to Ace's credit in that he is a tough cookie. He's not just gonna roll over and die after his little bro got some devil fruit powers. And I know that we went over the symbolism of Ace's tattoo, but at the top left panel of page 10, when he says I'm very proud of it, I cringed a little bit. I was like, ooh, maybe not. Again, notwithstanding the conversation we just had, it was just a pure moment
pride
of like a reflex.
Swastika.
Yeah, it was. It made me somewhat uncomfortable. And then at the top of page 14. We have a pretty cool perspective shot with Ace being crouched on top of the banister and the rest of the Straw Hats looking at him with the slight angle from the bottom. I thought that was pretty cool in terms of visual things that stood out to me. The middle panel of page 16, it made me chuckle how everyone is in admiration of Ace and how they keep stating how he and Luffy are different. Like, it can't be. How can someone so serious and intelligent be related to Luffy? What an awesome big brother. Like, I guess, like, to me, if I were Luffy, I would be a little insulted.
Oh.
But I don't know that Luffy has the stream of consciousness.
It's like, okay, go join Whitebeard then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that just kind of made me laugh. And this chapter ends on a really good Ace-centric 2-page spread with the Fire Fist destroying the ships and the close-ups on his closed flaming fist and his face. I'm really enjoying the introduction of this new character. I feel like he's bound to add a lot to the story, and I'm looking forward to it. Like, what we're seeing in this volume, to me, is just a taste of what we're going to get of Ace in the future, and I am excited to see more. You know, also, I'm not going to complain about some more eye candy, but it's not about that. I think in terms of just a driving force, in terms of the storyline, in terms of what he adds to Luffy's backstory, in terms of things that we have yet to find out, I think the introduction of Ace in this manner is great, and I'm looking forward to more. And as a note, I went back to chapter 157, and I did note that Ace's full name does include the D.
Yep.
Portgas D Ace, as in Monkey D Luffy, as in Gold D Roger. You know, just putting. I'm just putting the D's together.
Yes, you do.
I love the D's. But yeah, that's what I had for 159. Michael?
All right. Yeah, I'm just going to kind of touch on some of the stuff that you guys brought up. Mr. 11 getting assassinated on the ship, on the Marine ship.
Yeah, it was
like, these motherfuckers said, no, we're boarding a Navy ship right now. I'm going to kill him. Ballsy. Bold. Clearly.
Also, a little lax on the fucking Navy to not have anyone watching the ship.
Absolutely, Dylan noted that as well. But I mean, it still shows a cutthroat organization where only the strong survive. And yeah, I thought that was an interesting way to start things here. Love Karoo getting a little mission, him drinking his little drink. I mean, let's go, Karoo.
I love Karoo.
I especially
in case you guys could tell.
I think V loves Karoo. Dylan, will you write that down?
Write that down.
Also, Ace popping up saying, who can you beat? Definite Big Brother energy. I think one of you guys noted it, but yes, absolutely agree. Loved that little introduction. We get a little bit more hammering on. We've heard the name, I think, 3 times now. I think we saw it briefly in the previous volume, that he is not his own captain. He is devoted to someone else. Mm-hmm. Gentleman under the name of Whitebeard. It's Luffy and Ace is a funny little rivalry. It's very cool, and I think it was handled interesting, fun, very, very One Piece way. Mm-hmm. And they're both after the One Piece. You know, they both have similar goals. Like, no, Whitebeard's going to be king of the pirates. You need to shut the fuck up, little man. Smoker clearly is not having a great time here in Alabasta. He's struggling. And I liked Ace's little boat. It reminded me of Mihawk's. You guys remember Mihawk's little boat?
Yeah. Like the coffin-shaped seat and stuff. Yeah.
It takes someone special to take a one-man boat out on the great expanse of the ocean. So, yeah. And then, of course, loved the ending here where he just fucking blasts through those ships. I think even Dylan was willing to put aside his questioning to just be like, yeah, that was fucking
that was rad. Looking tubular, dude.
And then, yeah, just to kind of summarize here, it was mostly a lore dump chapter, but it had some really interesting action moments, noting specifically the very beginning and the very end. But it was good stuff. Smoker has got a dilemma, and Ace getting in the way, to kind of cause that dilemma was great. And interesting beats. It was a quick little scene, or not scene, but just story with Ace. He came, he did what he needed to do, and then he was gone. Like, he's not sticking around, and I liked it. He didn't overstay his welcome. He didn't feel like he was he's clearly very powerful. He's not lending his powers to the Straw Hats during this. I thought it was good to have him come and go. So, that's what I had for 159. 160 will be V.
Yeah, good intro image here. I really like this intro image, where we see the top 5 levels of Baroque works. I'm noting here that there are 2 duos that we haven't met yet as of when this occurs. We do meet them later on in this volume. Mr. 1 and Mrs. Double Figure, and Mr. 4 and Miss Merry Christmas. Interesting. We are, like I said, going to learn some more about them. I feel like we did spend a significant amount of time with the others, and it's kind of nice to get that kind of wrapped up in terms of who we're dealing with now as we're stepping more thoroughly into Alabasta. Also, I am noting that Luffy is standing below Mr. 2 because he doesn't have a female counterpart, as was discussed. I think it was in the previous volume. But yeah, good intro image, kind of sets the tone for what is to come here in the latter half of this volume. We get a little bit of a wholesome moment here at page 3 when Nami is sewing the pieces of paper in the band of Luffy's hat. And the thing is, we know that Luffy will do everything that he can to guard his hat very carefully, so it's a good spot for her to be...
His wallet should be sewn there.
In his hat, for real. Like, we know that he's gonna take this seriously. Like, and he says, so great, Nami, now it's safe. Like, he knows that he is going to protect this hat. So, if he needs something hidden and protected, put it in his hat. I did kind of roll my eyes a little bit, because of Sanji at page 4. I know there's no ill intent there, but there's a little bit of cringe that his first reaction to Nami talking about a life-saving measure that would have her and Vivi covered up is to be shocking or upsetting.
Yeah.
Like, what? You'll be covered up? I was like, shut up, Sanji. Like, that was a moment to me where the simpness was pushed just a little too far.
It's an example, like, one of those things, it's like I've seen it before, it's like, you're actually, like, very attractive, well-put-together dude, but you're fucking creepy. Like, you're just creepy as shit. That's the reason you don't pull, is because you're fucking creepy.
Sanji toes that line in that he has moments where I love him. He has moments where I'm like, this man is amazing, he is skillful, he is charismatic, he's talented. And then he has moments like these where I'm like, just shut the fuck up. Like, just stop. Stop being a creep.
Nothing would have changed in this chapter if that was cut out. And I wouldn't say I laughed at it, you know?
No.
I wouldn't say, like, the bit.
It made me literally roll my eyes. I was like, oh, okay, here we go again. You know, like, it felt unnecessary. And I don't know if that's something maybe to cater to a younger audience, or I'm not exactly sure. Again, like you said, the purpose of that was, it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to get
humor.
Right, it's humor. I'm not going to get offended about it, but I was like, okay, whatever, Sanji. Like, just calm down. But then we do get Vivi, man, she pulls through. Vivi is a really good character, and we see that unfold really in the latter half of this volume as a whole, but to me, it starts in this volume, in this chapter, I mean, we've seen examples of that in previous volumes also, but it's reiterated particularly as of now in this volume in particular. She is such a good leader. She's very resolute in her approach, and she truly wants what's best for her country and its citizens. She recognizes that they have suffered. She wants it to stop, but she's going at it in a way to prevent collateral damage. And to me, that's a really good example of someone who stands by their integrity as a human being and as a leader, which is sometimes lost on some people, is that sense of integrity, and that I know that I need to do these things, but I will never lose sight of what makes me human and what makes me care about other human beings. And Vivi has that in spades as far as I'm concerned. But she's a great character. I've really, really come to love her. And then we have a really interesting shift in kind of the pace of the story. We're changing perspectives here.
Big time change, yeah.
Yeah. So as of page 7 is kind of where we're getting... our focus is back to Baroque Works, and I really enjoyed the saloon vibes of the cafe that we're getting at page 8.
Still very Australian vibes to me.
Australian or spaghetti western. Like, it was giving that type of vibe, for sure. And this is where we're also getting introduced.
Just missing a tumbleweed.
Basically.
Because I don't want to be that cliche.
But it was pretty close. But everything in those few pages kind of, especially on page 8, kind of lends itself to that, with the broader shot of the cafe and the water tower, and then you see the close up on the sign. Like, it feels like
it's very Western.
You can almost hear the wind going.
The sign going. I got one thing to say. It's called the Spiders Cafe. Why is the sign a fucking fish?
I don't know.
I mean, the sign is in the shape of a fish, but the emblem is a spider.
But why wouldn't you just, like, make the sign a spider, just be Spider's Cafe, and just be done with it?
I don't know. Because they're in the middle of the desert and they need fish? I'm not sure.
Fish means water.
That's true. But yeah, so we are now getting introduced to some more characters. We saw Mr. Four and Miss Merry Christmas in the intro page of this chapter, but this is the first time that we actually see them in the story proper. We also get to meet Pola, which we end up finding out is another member of Baroque Works, but also acts as the owner of the Spider's Cafe. And I think she's hot.
Please.
The curly hair, the glasses, the bandana. I don't know.
She seems your type.
She is my type. Sorry.
Are you?
But yeah, I was like, oh damn, okay. And then yeah, so we do get a little bit more insight on page 12 as to how Mr. Two identifies himself. I'm going to stick to the masculine pronouns as written, but I'm just acknowledging the clarification where he says this world is made for men and women, but when you're me, you're a man and a woman. So like gender non-conforming, non-binary. I'm not exactly sure what the label would be, but I'm just taking a minute to acknowledge that. But I have to say that how dare you do at the bottom of page 12, like his fucking pun.
Because he's Mr. Do.
I read that and I snort laughed. The first time I was like, oh my god. Like, of course, as a French person, I would be like, "Duh, that's funny." And then he's Mr. Two. Yeah, obviously. I had to point that out. At the very bottom of page 14, I'm not surprised that there would be conflicts of personality within Baroque Works. There's a very broad variety of people that work there, clearly.
Whoever's tough enough.
Right. But the thing is, they're all tough enough to be in the top 5, right? But they're also different. And I think it's kind of interesting to see that variety of people. And then at page 16, we get introduced to Mr. One, who looks like a big, tall boy. I was trying to determine what his power was based on what happens over pages 17. Sorry, I have something stuck in my throat. So, I was trying to determine what Mr. One's power was based off of what happens over pages 17 and 18, but I can't quite figure it out for now. I'm sure I'll find out.
He is keeping it a little close to the chest, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure I will find out eventually, but I was trying to decipher it, and I was like, I'm not coming up with anything. Because, like, and we will get to it a little bit more later on in this volume, but, like, Crocodile to me was fairly straightforward in that, in the previous volume, he gets stabbed, and then we get, like, a sandstorm. So to me, it was sand powers. That makes it pretty obvious. The extent of that is still unknown to me, but in some capacity. But in Mr. One's case, I was like, I have no idea what's going on. More to be determined. And then, yeah, we do find out that Pola is Miss Doublefinger, and they're now ready to meet their boss for the first time, which at the time was very exciting, and ended up being... I really loved the latter half of this volume. I'm excited to get into it into more detail. But I feel like that was a really good way to kind of kick off that kind of second phase of Baroque Works, I want to say, where we're now dealing with, like, the top agents of that organization. I think that was a really, really good way to set everything up for what's to come. And, yeah, good stuff as of 160. Dylan?
We have a lot of the crew interaction, kind of like trying to set plans. And then VV again, like, it's like, no, like, I don't want to beat the army, I want to prevent this fight altogether to save citizens. Respectable. And, like, all the crew was just like, alright, fuck yeah. And again, everything with the saloon is what I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
Fucking great, love it, love the aesthetic of it. I would definitely, as a wandering traveler, stop in for a pint.
Get fucking killed by Broke.
Yeah. I fucking hate Miss Merry Christmas. Hate this shit out because that's just the epitome of a Karen. That's like, because when she's in it,
yeah,
okay,
like,
fair.
Yeah, she is giving Karen.
Don't say Happy Holidays.
Yeah, it's like, say Merry Christmas is America, you piece of shit. But it's just like the thing when she's ordering her tea, she's like slamming the table the whole time. It's like, don't make it too high, I want to be able to drink it, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you're the type of, like, everyone, if you act this way at restaurants, your food has been spat in. Yeah, no.
Please don't say
your
that,
food
Dylan.
has been spat on.
Fears.
Well, don't be rude.
Even as a respectful visitor. I'm not.
If you're, no, trust me, your wait staff appreciates it. If you're not a hassle, they appreciate it. But if you're a piece of shit, I'd never do it. But if you're gonna sass the shit out of a fucking high school kid in the McDonald's fucking drive-thru, that motherfucker's spitting on your burger.
Oh, yeah.
Just a golden rule to live by, listeners. Do not
just be nice.
Do not fuck with the people who handle your food.
Be nice to
They've got. You think there's a power dynamic? They're the ones that have the power. It's like, oh, you're paying them, yeah, but you're eating what they touch.
They will feed you whatever the fuck they want to feed you.
So, Burger King, Foot Locker.
Yeah, exactly.
For real.
But I'll admit, sometimes restaurants are just degenerates that just fuck with shit, just to fuck with shit because they can. But yeah, it's kind of fun, like Mr. 2 coming in and singing his little song. I kind of want to hear that. If like that's in the animated, I kind of want to hear what it actually sounds like. Is it like more supposed to be like some like French ballad or something, or is it more of like a cadence song to keep time as they're marching through? And then also Mr. 2's the "How do you do?" is like, ugh.
Yeah.
Fucking gross.
V loved it, Dylan hated it.
I loved it. I was like, he said dude.
It's like, this is your bit. It's gotten old, and it's the first time you've done it.
I mean, it is going to get old. I will say, like, because it happens again later on in this volume, I'm not going to be happy with it every single time.
I think
it comes
you guys are going to come
up.
to enjoy him as a character.
He feels like some kind of weird, like at first, he's like super obnoxious, but also comic relief. I don't know.
But then, like, also like his customer interaction, it's kind of like, I'm not gonna fuck with you, like I'm not gonna fuck with you or anything like that. It's like, but you're annoying. It's like dad joke level of like customer. Where it's like, come out, it's like, oh, how was the food? It's like empty plate. Well, as you can tell, I hated it. Yeah, it's like, oh wow, the millionth time I've heard that doesn't get old. Or is there anything we could have done better for you, dude? Made it free.
A lottery ticket.
Yeah, $1 million. I'm still working on that myself. But I can't tell you how many times I'd be like, yeah, I'm still working on that too.
The canned jokes get canned responses. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not fun for anyone involved, I don't think. Well, I guess maybe for
if you're a regular and I like you, it's like, I'll have a laugh about it. But if you're just like some dude and you're expected to be like, oh my god, it's not gonna happen.
I haven't heard that one before.
Dude, like, have you ever seen, like, the fucking, I forget, the Blue Collar Comedy Tour, dude? Like, you can start them back up, brother. You're the one. You're gonna bring them back. I'll say something about tater salads.
I do love potato salad.
Mayonnaise.
I'm not crazy about, just because you put mayonnaise and a bunch of other ingredients doesn't make it a salad.
Oh my god!
It makes it the opposite of salad. It's like this is probably gonna kill you.
Potato salad is delicious, listeners.
I like a vinegar-based potato salad.
What do you mean?
It's a German.
No,
I think it's called a German potato salad. It's real.
Whatever.
This is my potato salad. No.
All I had was vinegar. Vinegar.
But I kind of like how it's like, of course, you know, like the upper echelon of Baroque works together. These are like duos and lone wolves that operate that way. Now that you put them all together, of course there's gonna be a fucking bar fight.
No one cares about anybody, as we've seen, you know,
because they operate the way they've operated thus far is independently.
Very isolated. It feels like they don't have to collaborate very often, but now they have to.
Now they do, yeah.
Or it's like, well, as we saw before, it's like when they do collaborate, it's like Mr. 3 came in like with Mr. 5 and everything. It's like, all right, now you're going to do what I say, and we're going to split the bounty, and I'm going to get most of it. It's like, well, what if I don't like that? It's like, I'll fucking kill you. Those are your options. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll take 40%. And then we get to see Mr. 3's not dead ass peeking before the bar fight breaks out.
Again, we never assumed he was dead. That's one of the ones that we did not assume.
I know. I wished he was dead, though.
Yep. Okay.
Mr. 1 has got a chest hat that says 1 on it. It's like, cool, dude. One of those guys.
What a fucking badass.
It's like on his forehead, I'm him. And then, like, more kind of like with the line he tells when he gets introduced, also kind of like really reinstates how Baroque works beforehand operated. Don't waste your strength in pointless fellowship. And then it's cool. I do enjoy watching Mr. 1, Mr. 2 fight.
Do you notice anything about his fighting style?
It's very, very, very dodgy. Because from the shots you get to see, it's him dodging a bunch of kicks and punches, jumping over a kick and punch. But no, you don't really get to see anything about it. It just seems like he's pretty adept at dodging attacks. And then Paula drops a ruse, and it's like, alright, I'm a double figure. Ooh. That's about it. It's kind of... The most interesting thing I can say about this chapter is seeing how all these, like, individual, like, we'll call them cells because they're usually two people, how it's like they're usually operating on they're given orders and then it's up to them to figure out how to complete the orders. And now it's like, all right, now you have to collaborate with each other. And then just seeing how Baroque Works' previous way of functioning just does not fit with the new. And that makes me interested. It's like, what's going to happen? Like, if they did take over Alabasta and that became their kingdom and their perfect universe, it's like, how would that play out? Because obviously they don't mesh. But that's all I got.
All right. I like the opening. You know, you get a quick glimpse at what's to come, kind of. You're seeing the top 5. And their partners. I also wrote down Sanji, quote, "You'll be covered up." And then I wrote next to it, "Boo." That was unneeded. Nonsense.
Yeah.
Boo. And then we also get to see Luffy. He really wants to kick someone's ass.
I feel like he often has that impulse of, like, I just want to hurt something.
And it's not you. And it's not you. But...
urges.
And we will see later that he does, in fact, want to kick butt a lot. He wants to kick butt hard. Mr. 4, Mrs. Merry Christmas, very goofy. Mr. 1, Miss Doublefinger, less goofy. We will see. Other than that, you know, I didn't have a ton of thoughts on the remaining Baroque Works agents. We've seen them in some capacity. I don't feel like this really introduced a ton. I liked it. But, just to conclude, this is how we meet the rest of Baroque Works. It was fine. None of the new agents really inspired a ton of emotion either way in me, but we will see. This chapter was fine. Just fine.
I would agree with you that I feel like a lot of the previous Baroque Works agents kind of, like, from the get-go, they inspired more than the new ones that we're getting.
These are kind of being thrown at us.
Yeah. And that's not to say that they won't come out as being a little bit more significant in the next volumes, but for now I agree with you that I'm not going to say they feel like filler, but kind of. Oh. Kind of. Yep.
I would agree, and that's all I have to say on 160. 161 will be Dylan.
Okay, we open up with the cover page. You get to see Django and Full Body fighting side by side. It's intriguing.
They kind of look like badasses there, I gotta say.
Yeah.
Full Body's despicable, though. I mean...
he's kind of a punk bitch.
I have no respect for him.
He's a turd. But in that moment, still kind of looks like a badass. Yes, exactly. A polished turd.
As we actually start into the chapter, we get to see Bunchi, special all-terrain turtle Baroque Works.
Do you remember Bunchi?
No, well, I remember he was swimming earlier, but now he's pulling, like, a trike carriage.
He is an all-terrain turtle, huh?
I want him.
And also that carriage actually seems to be quite spacey.
It's one of those, like, bigger on the inside kind of thing.
Yeah, like almost. The fucking tent in Harry Potter when they get a Quidditch thing.
Yeah.
Or the TARDIS.
It's very steampunk coded, even though there's nothing steam about this. It's a carriage.
Yeah, like the aesthetics kind of that way. And there's a little crocodile on top of it.
Aww, I didn't notice him. Look at him. He's so cute.
He's a little guy. Looks like he might be wearing some shades.
I know. I feel like instantly anything that wears sunglasses, I'm like, it's so cute.
What about Jeffrey Dahmer wearing sunglasses?
Well,
not. People fantasize enough like about that maniac already.
Wearing sunglasses. Like the otter. Like the Unluckies.
Right.
And speaking of which, you see Crocodile talking about the Unluckies never came back, so they sent out the Lizard Runners. And they go, E. Also makes me think of like the EA games fucking meme where it's just like, E. I think those are based on, like, actual real lizards, because I've definitely seen lizards that do that, like, get up on their hind legs and just sprint off.
I think they might even run across water, the real ones.
I think so. I think you're right. I think I've seen videos of that. I would kick the shit out of one if it was running at me, though. It's like, oh, what the fuck?
It has a message for you, like, get the fuck out of here.
Go and get.
And then the Straw Hat crew has finally made it to Yuba. And I kind of like how it's like, it makes you think it's like it used to be a sprawling town like Nanahana was. But now nature's reclaimed it, like dunes are pretty much covered up some of the houses. Like out here, there's actually, reminds me of out here, because like one of the big dunes, there used to be like a putt-putt course. And every now and then, like when it's super windy, you can see like one of the peaks of one of the castle holes, like poking out from the dune.
Oh, that does sound
kind of eerie.
Yeah.
Also, this is not Yuma. This is Urumalu. But, I mean...
Yuba.
They think they're in Yuba, but Vivi explains it. Nah, not it.
Oh, okay, yeah. I see that now. On the next page, it shows, like, now we're in this little town. Yuba's ahead.
I mean, it's the same story. They're both, dried up.
And then we get introduced to the Kung Fu Jugon.
Yeah.
Which, fucking hilarious concept. Of course, Luffy kicks the shit out of one of them. And it's immediate, like...
Sensei.
It's like, Sensei, please, teach me the ways. And then, like, the next page, he's got, like, a fucking army of them.
I know.
I love that they're all posing.
And I love that he says ARF. They all say ARF. Yeah. I don't know. It's very cute.
And then, of course, they're almost out of food again because the only way to get them to go away is to give them food. It's like, man, if you're going to fight a rebel army, why not bring these dudes with you? Like,
right? They can fight.
They don't want to fight the rebel army.
A little bit of backstory about the whole land. It's like, apparently this place used to have plenty of rainfall, and now it hasn't rained in like 3 years. And now, I mentioned this earlier, but like you see like the cargo, and the cargo turns out to be like this weird power that like artificially forces rain, but to do so takes the moisture out of the air of the surrounding areas.
Did you notice the guy's shirt?
Half-fledged. Oh, so he's a Baroque Works guy. Okay.
Yeah, it might be the same
and
guy.
And that ties into what I was saying, like when Mr. 2 showed as the king. It's like, my guess is Mr. 2 ordered this stuff, and Mr. 2 used this stuff to get the people to hate the king.
Yeah, probably.
That is my guess. And then this is where you get the explanation there. It's like, you put the powder in, it rains, but it takes all the rainfall that comes to the other areas. Yeah, and the kind of more reinforcement of my theory is on the bottom of 16. The king had no idea, but a huge quantity of dance powder had been placed inside the palace, too.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure Mr. 2 posed as the king and did all this shit. Which, pretty good idea. And of course, after hearing all this story, you see, Sanji, Usopp, and Luffy got their angry faces on.
Yeah, they do.
Usopp looks like he's like smelling his finger though. That's not the most angry.
Smell my finger.
Last night was crazy.
Yeah.
And then, like, after that, they start, like, marching off. Oh, no, they broke a fucking building. They're like, yeah, we're angry. We're gonna break stuff.
And leave.
And then at this point, they're like, yeah, no more dawdling around explaining stuff. It's like, I'm itching for action. Good way to end the chapter there. But yeah, that's all I got in this chapter. A lot of information.
Alrighty. Yes, I quite enjoyed the 2-page spread of Bunchy crossing the desert over pages 2 and 3. I really like seeing this giant turtle trekking over the dunes with the agents inside the carriage. I love Bunchy. I don't know, man. I'm gonna be the animal lover.
I like animals.
And like, as I hadn't even noticed the little crocodile on top of the carriage, and now I'm in love. I would like a plushie of this little fellow. I have no idea who he is, but I would die for him now. Yeah, as Dylan pointed out, also, I really like the fact that the lizard runners just say E. It's just 2 E's. I don't know. I thought that was hilarious.
One of them has a question mark. He's like, E?
E? Yeah. Just the one guy. And, yeah, I appreciate the fact that we see a map of the region we're in. Like, once in a while, it's good to be taken into context, because at this point, the world that we're in is getting big. Like, we are expanding the horizons and the places in which the Straw Hats have set foot, and it's good to be like, okay, this is where I'm currently situated. So to have that reminder, I think, was a good idea. Just helps situate us, really. Another cute critter at page 7 with the Kung Fu Jugon. I think he looks like, not an otter, but he looks like walrus, almost, a little bit. Like a sand walrus. It reminds me a little bit of, if anyone has played Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, they do have like sand seals, and that's what it's reminding me of. You can ride the sand seals.
I don't remember. I've played Breath of the Wild. I do not remember them. Sounds
it's
adorable.
In the Gerudo Desert area, but yeah, you can ride on the sand seals, and that's what it's reminding me of. Yeah, so somehow Luffy manages to get a platoon ready to help them by defeating that one Kung Fu Jugon, but they manage to get out of this unforeseen alliance with Chopper's help at page 8. I knew that him being able to talk to animals would come in handy, and sure enough, we see that happen. Once again, it's not the first time, and it certainly won't be the last, I'm sure. And yeah, so then it's lore drop time. I like getting the explanation as to why Erimilu isn't so green anymore, and how the rain powder stole the moisture from the surrounding
area.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, how it stole the moisture from the surrounding areas. I have a lot of thoughts on that, actually. Like, I feel like that's a really good display of Crocodile's ruthlessness. Like, to attack a nation like that is to take away so much from it, because we so need water, right? And, like, strategically, that's so cruel. It's immensely cruel, but it's also immensely effective as a strategy. I don't know where I'd be without
my little water cup.
Right? I mean, we're 73% made of water, basically. So it is quite cruel, I find. And then, yeah, as Zora points out at the top of page 16, it does make sense that the citizens would then have distrust of the king, even though ultimately we find out that he was framed. And again, that plays into the despair that comes from the citizens, because it's kind of a perfect storm in a really fucked up way. Because then now you're putting the citizens in a state of panic and despair of them not having water, and then you instill on top of that the distrust of their leaders. So it's, yeah, as far as like martial arts, martial as in the art of war, this is, I don't really have the words for it. It's horrible, but very effective.
I mean, we've seen it even in modernity. Places start running out of clean, reliable sources of water.
People go crazy. Like, we enter this, like, state of pure survival, and if you can't trust the leaders, it's made even worse. So, yeah, it's quite intense if you think about it. I know that this is all within the context of a manga, but it's still, like the stakes are so high. If you really think about it.
Right.
Yeah, and then we get further detail about how Crocodile had set up the dance powder inside the palace. And yeah, like I said, super cruel, super effective. We get two pretty solid shots visually over pages 18 and 19. Most notable to me is Vivi's very expressive face at the top of page 18. The emotion here is palpable. Like, she's angry, she's desperate, and she's deeply distressed by the situation, and you can see it very clearly. Like, it's not just anger, and it's not just sadness, it's everything combined, and it's really, really well drawn. Oda did a great job there. The bottom of page 19 is also good, with Luffy looking determined as he's flexing his fist, stating that he's itching for action. Yeah, I feel like now that we're stepping into the latter half of this volume, this is a good way to get that started. Now that we're more properly situated in the region and we know what the stakes are, basically. But yeah, that's what I have for 161.
Right on. For 161, yeah, we got a lot of cool animals. This was a very animal-heavy chapter. Bunchi, the alligator on top, the lizard runners, the kung fu Jugons. I enjoyed every bit of all of that. It was a lot of fun. Seeing Usopp get handled by the kung fu Jugons at first made me laugh on the inside. Not a out loud laugh, but he gets put down by these little critters. Before Luffy steps in, whoops their ass. They swear undying loyalty to Luffy. So, the thing is, if Luffy had gotten his way, like, why can't they just come with us? They still probably would have had to give up some of their rations to keep them fed through the desert. They're water creatures, come on. Maybe they are suited for desert life, but maybe not that deep in the desert. I don't know. I think Chopper did good in trying to negotiate a way out of that. And then to speak on the villainous plot here, I thought it was fine. It felt very cartoon villain-esque, like twirling mustache, like, I'm going to steal all of the water. But I do appreciate your perspective on it. I do see where you're coming from. It is a very vital thing, but it just felt very, I'm going to blow up the sun.
Right. I think part of it is because we are in the context of a manga, it's harder to take it seriously. But if we were to take that scenario, if for some reason this scenario was something that could happen in real life, it would have massive repercussions.
It'd be a terrorist attack.
Oh, yeah. It would be a crime against humanity.
Absolutely.
Like... So I think that's kind of where I'm coming from, is that, oh my god, what if that were to happen?
Yeah, no, I think your perspective is good here, and it kind of helps.
Somebody's
me
poisoned the
contextualize it.
watering hole.
Exactly. It kind of helped me recontextualize, because at first I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but yeah, it's big. And then Crew and Vivi are clearly taking this very seriously. They got their game faces on. They're ready to move, and good on them. So yeah, just overall, this was more info dump. It wasn't the most interesting, but I've seen worse. Definitely. I would say this was a fine chapter. The fauna at the beginning, very cool, very cute, very fun. And I meant to mention this in previous chapters, but I feel like Alabasta has had some really good artwork along the way. The cityscapes and everything, with the crumbling buildings or the buildings intact.
Yeah.
I really like Oda's urban depiction.
Yeah, he did that well in Loketown also.
Yeah. I think we noted that it looked, very lived in. It does. The crowds are drawn in, and the cities have wear and tear on them. They're not just like boxes that if we're setting the bar at what I would draw, I don't know if that's a good bar to set.
And you gotta think also, it's probably, in terms of difficulty to draw, it probably takes a lot of time to draw a cityscape like that, because there's so much detail.
It takes a lot of thought, too. You gotta think, where do we
put the Denny's?
Where's the strip club?
It's a little bit of a civic engineering task, I think. But yeah, that's what I had for 161. 162 is V.
Yes. So, I love basically the opening shot of this chapter with a close-up of Luffy's shaded-in face as he's clearly parched, and then right after, right underneath, we see the shot of the expanding dunes and the crew walking through the sand. I feel like that put us exactly where we needed to be. And it's it's also funny in that, we ended the previous chapter with them being super determined and we're going to do this. And then suddenly this new chapter starts and they're
on the brink.
Exhausted. They're thirsty. It's the flip side basically. And I enjoyed that in terms of the pacing. I really liked at the middle of page 3, I enjoyed seeing Zoro threaten Chopper that he won't carry him anymore if he gets big. It was a very don't make me come back here or I'll make you behave.
I'll turn this sled around, I swear to God.
I swear to God. Hey, you stop getting big back there.
Stop. Don't do it. But yes, I like Zoro when he's a little assertive. Yeah. I'm not pulling you.
And he's treating Chopper like a little kid.
I know. I love it. He's just giving daddy.
He cries like a baby.
Shh. Shh. I mean, you're not wrong. He is a baby.
He's a baby.
And then, of course, Luffy would waste water. If anyone in the crew would, it would be him. I had to look up what crags were. As you know, English is not my first language. And so they mention crags at the bottom of page 5, and I'm like, what the heck is that? You can tell I've never been in a desert also, although that is something I'd be curious to experience at some point. But
same.
That was an educational moment for me, as to find out what crags are. And sure enough, they get to a steep cliff, Luffy being particularly motivated by the thought of food, as
usual. Are they just steep cliffs? Is that
I think so. Let me just pull up the definition. A steep or rugged cliff or rock face.
Okay.
Is a crag. So.
Well, I think it was the Astro Crag from Guts.
Yeah.
I don't understand that reference.
American show.
Okay.
The best. With the Canadian referee. I'm pretty sure she was Canadian.
Amazing. There are dozens of us. Dozens.
There's dozens.
So, and once they get there, they notice dying birds all over at page 7, but Vivi alerts them and goes on to talk about their tactics, which the Straw Hats fall victim to. Clever birds. Clever birds indeed.
Assholes, actually.
Yes, they are. A shout out to my baby boy Zoro, being the voice of reason at page 9, I think. Yeah, forget what happened. Thinking about it will just make you thirstier. We'll rest for 10 minutes and then go on. He's like, okay, guys, let's calm down. Let's collect ourselves. We got this. If we get frustrated, it's only going to make it worse. Again, Luffy's impulses get him into trouble with him chasing the birds and getting a giant Sandora dragon pissed off. And as Zoro points out at the bottom of page 11, it makes you wonder what kind of unlucky star he was born under. But I don't think it's a question of luck. I think he just doesn't think things through. Ever. That's Luffy.
Who's going to think that
Luffy.
there's a giant lizard out in the desert ready to eat him?
I mean...
I wouldn't.
Do they...
Have you not heard of the Great Dragons of Tatooine?
Right, or like Dune? The sandworm?
Yeah, right. But if I was in a desert, I wouldn't have... Well, there's some dangerous stuff in deserts.
There is some dangerous
But they're usually
stuff.
very small, actually. Scorpions.
Yes. But, they were literally in Little Garden and everything was gigantic.
Yeah.
The standards aren't quite the same.
Now they're in giant desert and everything's small.
Small. But no, actually big. We get a really nice 2-page spread over pages 12 and 13 as Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji ramp up and attack the dragon. When they work together, it's like fucking magic. Like, they're basically unstoppable, super dynamic in the way that it's drawn too. They're all like gearing up their attacks and they all go together and now they have food, which is great because they needed it.
Can you drink animal blood for hydration?
I want to say yes. I don't think it's nearly as effective, but I think it can stave off a little bit.
Okay.
I would agree. I think there's a limit. I think there is such a thing as drinking too much, and you can make yourself sick by drinking too much blood.
Yeah.
But...
Would you boil it first? Might coagulate.
No, because then it would coagulate, yeah.
Okay.
Any vampires, listeners?
Animal
let
vampires?
Us know.
Vampires?
Let us know. Please leave a comment. Eyelashes the camel joins the group for now. Again, would love to give him some chin scritches. Might get spat on. That's okay. It's fine. It's a risk I'm willing to take.
Hey, you're playing a dangerous game.
Yeah.
It's a risk.
Chompers,
like I said,
they chomp.
It's a risk I'm willing to take.
I would not interact with a camel unless I was forced to ride one. That's about
If
it.
it spits at me, I'm throwing hands.
Yeah.
You would.
You think you would fuck with me?
It's disrespectful as fuck, bro.
With me?
I'll fucking wet you, mate.
Okay, pages 16 and 17. So Luffy accidentally tried peyote?
Yeah, I wrote the exact same thing.
Fuck yeah, dude.
That's my takeaway from that. Which I would be very curious to try that personally. That or like ayahuasca? Is that it? One of those.
Supposed to be
ayahuasca vine
intense.
extract. Yeah.
One of those mindfuck ones. Anyway, we don't need to talk about my drug habits. Again, talking about pacing and how we are using the pages to display it. Good use of page 18 to show the time passing as they travel through the desert. The layout of the different panels is interesting and really conveys the intent really well of them just trekking and pushing and walking and just trying their best to get to where they're going. So I did appreciate that. And, the chapter ends on a little cliffhanger as Vivi feels the ground rumbling. And my first thought was, a sandworm? Which ends up not being it.
I thought the same thing.
But that was, at the time, my reflex was to think that. And that's what I had for 162. Dylan?
Yeah.
Diddlin?
Dylan the
No.
Diddler? No.
Dylan
No,
the Diddler?
no.
I do not diddle kids.
No.
Not diddle kids.
No. No.
There's no better way to make people think you diddle kids than writing
I'm writing
a
a song about not diddling kids.
Are we gonna keep this in?
So yeah, Full Body and Django.
Okay.
Full Body and Django, the heroes of Funky Town.
The two dancing heroes, baby.
Not diddlers.
But then, like, I like, I mean, you get to see freaking Luffy panting, but I really like the desert. The desert scene below that is drawn out really well.
Yeah.
You can kind of, like the sand's getting baked.
Yeah, you see like the little plumes of, like, I don't know.
Heat and stuff, yeah. But then, like, Luffy's like, oh, I'm gonna take just a tiny little sip of water, and just, like, immediately, like, fills his cheeks with water.
Slurp.
Yeah. It's like them motherfuckers that, I'm like, oh, man, it's like, let me just get a sip of your drink. It's like, I just want to try. Motherfucker drinks, like, half the fucking thing.
That
like,
used to be me. Back in the day, if I saw someone at school, like,
what a piece
friends, of course.
Shit.
Hey, listen, I've grown since then, okay? It's all about growth.
Of course, like, Usopp's also like, I want some too. That was like 13 gulps just now. And also the thing, it's like, why would you hit him and make him spin it? Because now the water's just completely wasted.
Right. Let him at least finish it.
At least let it be useful. And again, another great shot of the desert, where there's just little tiny little specks. And I can't really be mad at Luffy for falling to the bird, falling for the trick.
I know I would.
So I really think that's Vivi's fucking fault.
Well,
yeah, like, you live here, you know what this desert's about. You should be like, hey, this kind of weird stuff, like, avoid it.
Yeah, she should have given them a heads up, because same, I would have been like, there's a bird in distress. Obviously, I don't know if you've
noticed, but one of her quirks is that she is forgetful.
She is, in fact, a bird.
And that's true. She's one of them.
So, like, the classic dead bird, not dead bird routine.
The long con.
Yeah. That's funny. Everybody's like yelling at Luffy again. I'm on Luffy's side in this one. It's like, it's not his fucking. He didn't fucking know. It's like, how's that his fault? And of course, always being level-headed. It's like, all right, everyone's just like really hot right now. You're getting heated because of it. Just like take a minute, relax, cool off. And then the birds are off in the distance, just mockingly drinking their water.
And you can see like the face on the birds.
Exactly. Yeah. When they're running away, like doing like the musical little honk. It's like, oh, little bitch, you want your stuff back? Gotta catch me first.
The one on the bottom of page 9 just gets me. The bombastic side-eye.
The bombastic
side-eye. While it's drinking, it's like,
glug,
your
glug.
water?
Yeah.
It's delicious.
And then Luffy just fucking rages. Yeah.
Luffy, of course, comes running back over the horizon with a camel in tow, being chased by this giant lizard. And then Zoe's line of, geez, what star was he born under? That idiot's a magnet for trouble.
Yeah.
That was fun. And then the 2-page spread of the trio charging up and letting loose on this lizard for a comboed one hit. I also like at the bottom where it kind of like shows like the finish of their moves. Like it's Sanji setting his foot down, it's Luffy's leg coming back to normal size, and Zolo sheathing his blade. That was a nice little detail there. I actually really enjoyed that.
I probably skipped right over that. I'm sure I saw it, but it didn't register. But yeah, I'm with you on that.
Chopper kind of explained everything. I was like, oh yeah, it's just this camel who's coming through. He's willing to give rides, but only to ladies.
Sanji.
And it's like Sanji as a camel. Because Nami comes up, it's like, oh, it's a sweet little camel. It's like, oh. I love how it's like, what's your name? Like, idiot, moron, jerk. Eyelashes. And I agree with those. Like, that's the weirdest name yet. Fucking Luffy does peyote. And I was like, oh my god, he's going crazy. And then fucking Chopper's like, I'm just gonna drug him.
Sedative.
Yeah.
The way he says it, he just like got his little needle there. Like,
yeah. That would make me nervous to travel around him. It's like, oh, this motherfucker just gonna decide I need to be unconscious. Motherfucker walking around like, yo, hey, can you smell this rag? Does it smell like chloroform? Wake up in a bathtub full of ice.
I took his kidney.
Stop it.
Turns out the little kid didn't need a kidney, he needed a lung.
Yeah.
So they both died for no reason. And then the travel montage is fun. Also the shot, like, at the bottom of page 18, the right panel, like, the sun going down as they're, like, going over the dune, the way the shadows are played. I like that a lot. That's a good shot.
It is a good shot. I agree.
And then the ground starts shaking. They've been walking with rhythm. But yeah, I will say it's, the desert, like, scenery has been done really, really well. I really liked a lot of the big desert shots in this one.
Yeah.
But that's all I got.
Yeah, and they're also wearing, like, really, like, dark clothing in many cases. The shadows are really nicely placed in contrast to the very open, empty desert. I will continue to say this, but the art's been great.
Yeah, and you've said before, like, he's really good at using darker colors to kind of accentuate empty space. Highlight the empty space, so yeah.
I had a good bit for this chapter. I feel like you guys nailed a lot of what I was going to talk on. So, opening page was really neat, and by that I don't mean the cover page. I mean the one with Luffy dying, pretty much. I really liked the contrast between the last one and this one. But I didn't notice it at first. I didn't notice, the high energy to the low, despair.
Yeah, he'll take it out of you.
Yeah, and I'll agree with you, V. That was a good call out. That was some good pacing.
Yeah.
It's a really good 1-2 punch. We get to see them kind of, crew dynamics in a difficult situation in the desert. They're not up against some kind of violent encounter. They're not being fought. They're just struggling to survive, and seeing them kind of snap at each other a little bit, get a little testy. We get to see a little more of this later, but I really think this was fun in a more serious way than some, like, partying on the ship would be. Like, again, Zoro saying, Chopper, if you get big, I'm not pulling. It was so...
Don't make me turn this fucking car around.
Yeah, it's so good. And then, throughout this, Luffy is straight up hemorrhaging supplies. Half to the dugongs. Chugs the water.
Freaking Luffy.
The birds, which I feel like there's a little blame to go around. I don't know that I would necessarily go run up on some birds that are just laying dead. Like, what killed them? You know? That's a dangerous game to play. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little blame on Luffy on that one. And he is just making this very difficult on them. And I love the birds, taunting them and just messing with them. And then, of course, the big salamander alligator guy comes. And I thought that was a cool, fun way to get them some relief. It got them some meat, a little bit of supplies to keep going. It was a way out of absolute dire straits. It was fun. It didn't feel like, manna from heaven, so to speak. It didn't feel like, meat falling out of the sky. It made sense to me. I liked it. I also wrote, that's peyote.
Yeah.
And then, I also liked the montage of them walking through the desert. There's a giant frog. Very, very man versus nature here. Mm-hmm. It was literally nothing but them fighting the elements. Oh, we also get to see Luffy being dragged around, I think, after Chopper sedates. That was funny. And just to kind of summarize, the trek through the desert gives the crew some time to exist in the world, in their own context. They get to be themselves. They're not, they don't have a bunch of other stuff going on. And there's a lot of funny moments. There were some interesting moments. There was some really good stuff here. It was a good chapter. And again, the good art just keeps rolling. So, that is what I had for 162. 163 will be Dylan.
Holy doke. The cover image is interesting. Got Django cuffed up. The Marines in the background are crying about it. And the title Friendship, Sin, and Duty. It's kind of giving me Ace vibes a little bit. Kind of like Ace Smoker vibes a little bit, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Pirate in a Navy guy, yeah.
Respect each other, but have their jobs, yeah. And the Sandstorm. Oh, God. That's I like that a lot. The Sandstorm hitting Yuba.
It reminds me of that lightning strike panel back in Log.
Oh, dude, that was good. That was a really good one.
Again, excellent. This isn't urban, but just like settlement art.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Dylan. That's good stuff.
And then you're seeing the after effect. And Vivi's been like, oh shit, like, this is worse than I thought. This place is dead too. And then we get to meet Toto, who's just busy trying to dig down to get water. I love how it's just like an abandoned desert town. It's like, oh, but stop here and rest. We're known for our hospitality. Can I interest you in a fine sand soup?
Yeah. We got sand burgers and sand fries.
And he's like, oh, we heard the rebels are here. And then, like, he starts flipping out, throwing shit. It's like, you want to join the rebels, you idiot? But this is a lot of, like, explanation of, like, what the town was, how it used to be. And then, of course, Luffy lets slip Vivi's identity. And he's like, oh, no, mister, she's totally not a princess or anything. It's like, bro, shut the fuck up. Just stop talking. And then there's the recognition, and they're so happy to remember each other. And then we get a good flashback of, we get to meet Koza, a village boy who's yelling at the king. It's like, the village is all dried up. Why didn't you save us? That's kind of nice that, we kind of get to see that, Vivi's father's kind of actually a pretty decent ruler. Because the kid storms in and starts yelling at him, and he's like, oh, the king doesn't have power over that. And then eventually he's like, no, the crown will provide to help you guys out. And again, another sign of him being a good king is just like, wow, man, the kid actually had the balls to come in here for, like, the sake of the people of his village. It's like, we need more people like that in our world. Mm-hmm. And then we get to also see young Karoo, who thought he could get more adorable, but then he did.
He's just Karoo, but smaller. I still like it. I'm not taking anything away.
And the fact that it's like, we can't afford that. It's like, well, we can easily take a cut in our pay to be able to afford it, so I don't see what the issue is. It's like, all right, good king is good.
Yeah.
Vivi comes in, bloody nose, like, I got in a fight and I lost.
I love the look on her face, though, where she's like...
So I'm gonna fight him again this time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she's upset that she lost, but she's also like, I'm still gonna try to kick your ass again.
I bet you ain't ready for round 2. It's all part of the plan. And of course, Toto comes back in with a knife. It's like, please, just kill me. Spare my son. Please. And the king, again, being a reasonable dude, it's like, it's kids, they fight, it's what they do. Like, I don't need to fucking throw a kid in jail. Calm down.
It's funny, it's like, I'm not gonna kill your kid. I could, but I'm not gonna.
I might, someday.
And then we see all the kids gather on the edge of the town, like, yeah, it's a fight to the death. It's just, middle school vibes, like, fight, 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 fight. And then it's hilarious, like, after they have their fight montage, it's like, alright, everybody listen up, she's now second in command. And then how the king dresses up to spy on his daughter. It's just like,
it's kind of wholesome, to be honest. Because he doesn't intervene. He just watches and observes.
Yeah, and of course the kids look over and like, hey, isn't that the king and the kid, like the leader of the guard? And it's also sweet, like the wholesomeness of like, are you gonna stay for lunch? It's like, yeah, bye, I want to go play. I don't know. A lot of this like flashback stuff is really wholesome and sweet. Two bandits. They're like, hey, girl, you want some company? Creepy fucking line. Creepy line. Don't like it's a bold.
And it gets worse also in the next chapter.
And then you get this little band of rapscallions. Reminds me of kind of like Usopp's pirate band.
Yeah.
It's just like toddlers going against grown men.
And doing all right.
So, like, yeah, a lot of this was like the flashback information being given to us, but I like the way it was done in the flashback this one, because it kind of gives you a really wholesome look into Vivi's early life, early childhood. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, so it wasn't a sandworm, but a sandstorm. It still has me wondering about the extent of Crocodile's powers that seemingly have something to do with sand. It does not bode well for the Straw Hats, though, as they were kind of counting on Yuba having water and whatnot. So that definitely puts a little bit of a proverbial stick in the wheel. Seeing the sand taking over everything and the destruction that it brings about really puts the gravity of the situation into perspective. And we see that visually, the very first panel, we see the sandstorm, and then the next page, we see the houses and the destruction and the sand all over. The trees are like tipped over because they're heavy with sand. Things are really dire on all fronts, kind of to what I was saying earlier, and it's reaching a breaking point. I'm also just thinking a lot of this is on Vivi to handle. And I'm hoping that her return is going to shake things up and bring about the change that is much needed. But that's a lot of pressure on one pair of shoulders. And admittedly, It's not one pair of shoulders because she has the Straw Hats with her. But like, I can only imagine the pressure that she must feel and the panic and the sense of duty upon seeing all of that and how this desperately needs to change. At page 9, we find out that Vivi knows Toto, which is then followed by a flashback where it's explained that his son Koza stood up to the king, and he and Vivi got in a fight. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with regards to the flashback. I think Dylan did a good job at that. Throughout the flashback, we find out that through that fight between Vivi and Koza, they bond, they become friends. And I have to just point out, Dylan did touch on it, but I find that over pages 16 and 17 particularly, we can see that Vivi doesn't rely on her status to make her way in life. She takes the time to earn people's respect, and that only serves to solidify her integrity and her reputation. And I think Cobra says it well at the bottom of page 17 when he states, "This will be the most important thing when she one day leads Alabasta." And I think it's true. I think this is building her character as a leader, as a person, and she knows that she has to work for it, and she's happy to do that. She's happy to prove herself and to not just say, "Hey, I'm the princess." She's like, "No, I'm going to bond with these people and show them that I'm worthy of their trust and worthy of their friendship." And that makes me like her even more. I think the more I find out about Vivi, the more I like her, and I think this isn't the first time I've said it. She just keeps on surprising me in the best way. And then, yeah, the chapter ends with Koza yelling and warning Vivi that she's being chased by some fucking creeps.
Some nasty boys.
Fucking hate that. And I guess this is another multi-chapter flashback at that point. It's not the first one that we've seen. I don't mind them. They're being used fairly well in the manga so far, but I feel like we also just did this. Like, we also recently had another multi-chapter flashback. But it serves to... I'm not going to say it's being overused, because like I said, it's being used fairly well. But I guess I'm feeling a little bit of redundancy, but again, I'm not going to discredit it because I think that is an important part of the story to be telling, and it establishes context. And then as we're going to be getting into the later chapters, we understand the importance of what happened during those flashbacks. But yeah, I didn't have a whole lot in the way of notes for this. That's what I had for 163.
I'm going to take a little bit of a divergent path from you here and disagree a little bit. So
You're loud.
I do like the opening with the big, thank you, with the big art panels, and again, it's well drawn. I don't need to hammer that point any further. The on page 9, Toto's face and Vivi's face in that little corner there, yeah. Bottom left and just above it. Very good, very emotional. Really feel the grief and a lot of emotions are going on there. As for the flashback, so point number 1, is Cobra, we're only getting a little bit of him, but is he too good? Is he too stereotypically good? Could they have made him a little bit more of an interesting character, give him a real dilemma when he, gives resources to them? We'll just cut our pay because that's what a good leader should do. It just felt very...
That's a good point. It's a good point. I think to kind of counter that point, we also see a lot of villains that are 100% villainous and that don't have much nuance in terms of their character and in terms of their ethics, and it's very black and white. And I feel like this is a portrayal of what ultimate good in a leader is when we're being faced with ultimate evil in the form of, like, for example, Crocodile.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's what the purpose there was, but I agree with you that in reality, you would never, like, even the best of leaders will, once in a while, you'll have a disagreement with, or they'll have a take on something that you're like, well, I don't know how I feel about that, like...
So, I feel like I let it go for villains more so than good people. Like, one of my least favorite superheroes is Superman.
Oh yeah, he's kind of lame as shit. It's like, oh, okay, he can't be defeated. Cool.
One of my most favorite villains is the Joker, Again, the Joker is just evil, very little in the way of redeeming qualities.
Well, it's interesting the fact that he's chaotic purely for the reason of chaos.
Yeah, right. I mean, he's evil to be evil and chaotic to be chaotic. I don't know. I guess there's a double standard there, for me at least. And also, it may just be me being jaded, very much looking for, flaws in characters, not wanting them to be one note. So maybe it's on me that I can't just take it for what it is. I don't know. Either way, maybe just kind of stop and think about that for a little bit. Loved Igram's disguises and the King's. They are quite hilarious. And then maybe letting Vivi run around with the riffraff was not an excellent idea. I mean, I know she's got to form a relationship with the people somehow, but this seems like it could have been done better from, like, a child-rearing standpoint. She doesn't have to get kidnapped to learn this lesson, right?
Right. But
so I thought it was
I was just going to say, I think, again, it's kind of a plot device. Because then, because we're going to then get introduced to Koza a little bit more, and and we don't know yet by the end of this volume, but, like, the bond that they had as children, I'm sure is going to be very significant in the way that things are going to unfold.
Of course.
So, to me, again, it maybe doesn't make logical sense, but in terms of telling the story, I can get behind it, basically.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. It's not the best flashback, and I will say that I don't think we would be surprised if Vivi met Koza in the current time, not the flashback, and, they were just old friends. They just hit it off. I wouldn't be surprised if anyone was friends with Vivi based on what I've already seen of her before this flashback. I know it's connecting her to this particular world, but I don't know if it was necessary to establish this. You could have just done it, You could have just, had Vivi be beloved by the people. You could have just had them meet each other and be excited to see each other in some way, shape, or form. And I don't think I would have questioned that either.
Again, it does make sense, but I think and this is like the extent at which we will disagree, I think, because we love each other. But I guess to me, it solidifies how she has earned that respect and how she, I think it's important in telling a story to demonstrate how someone has become a certain way, especially if it ends up being an important part of the story. Like, if it wasn't all about how Vivi is a good leader, we wouldn't necessarily bother establishing why. But because it does matter, and it will matter, I'm sure, that's why we're taking the time to kind of get into the details or the nitty-gritty of how it came to be. And I think to have her sort of earn her place like that, I think is just again, plot device to me is what it comes down to. Again, in reality, how relevant would that be? I'm not sure, but in this context, I think it has its place. But I don't think you're wrong. I don't
disagree with you. Yeah, either. I'm not 100%
right.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. I hear you and I understand you.
Thank you.
So, and it introduces Koza. So there's that as well. You get Koza before you get Koza. So yeah, that's what I had for 163. 164 will be V.
Yes. I love seeing the dedication of the Sansan band, and kind of to what Dylan was saying in the previous chapter, it is giving Usopp's Pirates band, and I love that they have their little name and their little crew. Mid page 3, we see them standing up to the threat, and at the bottom of page 4, they make a point of relaying the message to Igaram. Like they're there for her, and I guess that's one of the reasons why I think it was important to establish her as being part of that group now, is because it makes sense in the context of the events unfolding. The guy's face, I don't know what his name is, and I don't care to know.
I don't know that he's been given.
Yeah, in the bottom right corner of page 5, specifically when he says, "Come on, be a good girl and let me kidnap you."
Oh.
That's what I
must have moved past.
That's what I meant when I said it only gets worse. It's this. It's super creepy, especially when paired with what he says. Like, ew! I got like the big irk. Like, yeah, and he only gets more creepy. Throughout his interaction with Koza, we see him getting more and more enraged, and it's shown in the way that he's drawn. A good example of that. We have a couple good examples, but like in the middle of page 6, like just the way he's standing as he's saying, "Just hand over the princess, you shouldn't make grown-ups mad, kid." Just the like pure, it's like he's fucking demented. And then you also kind of see it at the very bottom corner of page 7, you see kind of a close-up on the side of his face. Low-key terrifying. And he's like, "Ever been cut, kid?" I don't know.
I noted that. I was like, that's nasty.
Yeah. And this is like a grown man towards like, I don't know how old Koza is in that context, like 8 or 9 or something. Like he's a child. Like, what the fuck? What are you doing? You fucking psychopath. And to Koza's credit, though, he takes no shit. And even if he does get a pretty nasty cut above his eye, he still manages to knock the guy out. All of page 8, to me, was very dynamic. And it expressed the sequence of events really well. So I enjoyed that. And then over pages 10 and 11, Cobra shows up. And he is mad. He is big.
Naturally.
He is big mad, and rightly so. I'm also noting that it's more and more obvious to me that there may be something fishy going on, as Cobra asks what Pell and Shaka are doing there, and they reply, "What are you doing here, Your Majesty? Why aren't you back at the palace?" Like that raised a little bit of a red flag for me. Like there's some sort of betrayal going on.
Yeah.
Something going on in the background that Cobra isn't aware of.
Which page is that?
That's page 11. Oh, like the bottom of page 10 and the top of page 11. At the bottom he says, "Pell Chaka, what are you doing here?" And then he says, "What are you doing here, Your Majesty? Why are you back at your palace? It's dangerous here." Like, right. I don't know. It was like, smells fishy. Pages 12 and 13, I thought were so heartwarming, especially with Vivi being emotional at the thought of her friends sacrificing themselves for her, which maybe again establishes the parallel between the Sansan Band and the Straw Hats. You know, both are dedicated groups of friends that would do anything to support her. And I feel like that might, I don't know, help in having some more like secure attachment styles. if we're getting psychology a little.
Secure attachment style?
So anyway, it's there's a theory in psychology about different attachment styles, and the secure attachment style is the best one, the quote-unquote best one. I have an anxious attachment style, personally, which surprises no one if you even know me a little bit.
I pulled a holographic secure attachment style from my psychology booster packs.
Yeah, the bottom of page 13, where Cobra asks Koza if he loves this kingdom, I thought was very cute. Very nicely drawn. Like, do you love this kingdom? Of course, this is my country. And then you see Cobra's smiling face when he says me too. I was like, aw, that's cute.
That is kind of cute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like just that two.
I didn't note that, but yeah, I like that.
Those 2 pages to me were very sweet and heartfelt. I also like at the middle of page 14, Cobra recognizes that Vivi's softness can be a good thing for her country. Because he's just I wonder if Princess Vivi's heart is too soft right above, and then he says that is good, it's good for Alabasta. Everything in balance. There is such a thing as someone being too soft, but there is something to be said about allowing ourselves to be in tune with our humanity. And despite, because you gotta think that, Cobra and Vivi, just by nature of who they are, the king and the princess, are removed from the rest of the populace. But to hold on to that softness and that humanity bridges that gap a little. It's never going to bridge it entirely because ultimately they are the king and the princess. But I feel like it brings them closer to the people that ultimately they're trying to serve. That's my 2 cents. And so we are reaching the end of the flashback, and we find out that Koza is now the leader of the rebels. And to me, this is another good example of someone being driven to something by desperate times. I don't think if Alabasta had remained prosperous, I don't think Koza would have become the leader of the rebels. Very much looking forward to seeing how all of this unfolds, especially as we've built up that relationship between Vivi and Koza, and I'm super excited to see them see each other again. Like.
And you're getting a little political kind of intrigue as well with it. Yeah. And,
ultimately now they're I don't want to say that they're in a position of confrontation, but there's definitely been a shift in, what their purpose is. And I think it's gonna be interesting to see how they reconcile all of that. But yeah, that's what I had for 164, Dylan.
Cover image is apparently Django's been sentenced to hanging. See how that actually eventually plays out.
Do you think he's hung?
I don't, actually.
Never bothered it with a thought.
Neither had I until right now, actually.
That's all I think about.
I mean, it is fun to see, all the kids, trying to protect Vivi, jumping after the baddies, even though they're horribly outmatched. And I find it funny, an Agram shows up, and it's a bunch of just, knocked out kids laying all over the place. It's what the fuck happened?
Right?
What the fuck happened here?
Come on, be a good girl, let me kidnap you.
Ugh. Those words in that context? Ugh.
Yeah.
He's just going to adopt her.
No, he's not.
But then you see Homeboy just come out of nowhere and just say, hold it, and knock him in the fucking face. Or silhouettes on top of the wall. That was a good shot. I like that shot.
I
noted that. I didn't have a lot of notes for this chapter, but that little panel.
Yeah, it's a tiny one, but it's good.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm starting to notice a theme. Scars around the eyes are what makes leaders in the One Piece universe. This kid got cut by a bandit. Luffy stabbed himself. But then he fucking just props to this kid because he gets cut in the face and then he just knocks the dude out fucking cold.
Yeah, he does.
Ingram and the king come in and start beating ass. And of course, the king, who he has a father, is even after they're already out, is just fucking stomping on them.
Honestly, better than they deserve.
I feel like most good fathers would do that. I know my dad would do that. I've had to stop my dad from beating up someone before. Yeah,
and I found this part weird. I found it really odd and disjointed. are they with that gang too? And the king's like, Palachaka, what are you doing here? And they're just silhouettes. And it's like, well, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be at the palace. Why aren't you back at the palace? That to me is really fucking suspicious. So that makes me think they were kind of in on it. They're just going to use these guys as like the pawns to do the dirty work, and then they were going to reap the rewards. Because my scam is they kidnapped the kid. They're like, yeah, we kidnapped the kid. We're going to make so much money. It's like, actually, no, we're going to kill you and rescue the kid and get way more money because we rescued the kid. It's just the fact that they're just silhouettes and they're like, wait, what are you doing here? You should be at the palace. It's like, that is very, very odd.
Yeah.
Vivi being a little crybaby. Oh, you guys should die for me,
Let people cry.
It's almost as though, like, people have emotions and they express
that
them.
shit makes me madder than hell.
Madder than hell.
And then the king asks the kid, he's like, do you love this kingdom? It's like, of course, this is my country. And it's like, me too. But I kind of, like, agree with Igaram to a point where it's just like, hey, it's like, isn't she a little too kind-hearted to be an efficient ruler? Because there are times where you have to make terrible decisions. There's just nothing you can do about it. Those things like, if you try and please anybody, you'll please nobody kind of deal.
Right. Yeah, I think I would lean towards Dylan on this. Like, to be a ruler, yes, you do want to have some degree of connection to your humanity.
Yeah, you want to have some empathy, but you don't want to be overridden by it.
Well, you don't want to be a pushover also as the leader, right?
Exactly. Like, if that's who you are, as long as you listen to your advisors, as long as you have someone who can balance you out, I think that's important too. In a ruler is to actually, heed advice.
And then it's like, oh yeah, it's like, he's my bestest friend. Oh, you're going to force his family to move far away, and now I don't get to see him ever again.
It's like when you change schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, dude, we'll be best friends forever 2 years later. Who the fuck was that guy?
We'll still see each other every weekend, I promise.
Actually, I just re-listened to Pen Pals for a Creepcast, and that definitely has those vibes in it really hard.
Pen Pal was excellent.
It was. That was really good. But yeah, and then we find out it's like, oh no, he's become the leader of the rebels. And it's at the point it's like they've been pushed into a corner. Now it's at the point where they're not afraid to die and they're ready to die for this cause. And what they're up against, they're going to die. And then we get a shot of Koza sulking in the shadows. But yeah, that's all I got for this chapter.
Back.
He's kind of cute also.
So yeah, children sometimes be popping off in One Piece, to be honest.
I ain't got no fear, dude.
Right?
Again, pointing back to Usopp's pirates and now these little guys, I mean, ruffians, to say the least. We touched on it, but guy says, ever been cut, kid? Ew. It hurts. It was icky, but I thought it was actually really well done. I mean, I think it was meant to be icky and nasty and nailed it. Yeah, I really liked the last page here with Koza laid back, everything kind of moving forward as far as the conflict behind the conflict, so to speak, the context conflict, we'll call it. And yeah, I thought the Koza shot was really cool. Tons of good art throughout. Again, I keep saying that, and I'm going to keep saying it because I feel like it hasn't missed much at all. And then, yeah, just to kind of summarize, the flashback was not bad. It was good. I feel like it ended better than it started. I wouldn't say it was amazing. Perhaps it expands our concept of Alabasta a little bit. It fills in some blanks that may have otherwise just not been there. They just may have stayed blank. It's not pointless. At first I was like, are we really telling something here that we couldn't just figure out, like I was talking about? But I will, after reading the second part of this, maybe I would kind of lean towards your theory that, it does serve a purpose. And yeah, I will say at least it wasn't very long.
Right.
It was
just over two chapters, yeah. Not like Drum Island that was like 5 chapters.
Hey, you want a volume that's like didn't happen now, but in the past?
But yeah, that's really all I had for 164. 165's Dylan.
Yes, sir. And then we got Luffy eating a popsicle. Don't like the way don't like that.
That's not a popsicle, Dylan. Look again.
Oh, it's a straw. Okay. I mistook the bend in the straw for his hand holding a popsicle stick. But still, not at all. No, sucky face is not good.
Is it the way his lips are?
It's just
wrapped,
don't like it.
Delicately wrapped around the
I ain't delicate.
thick
He's gripping.
straw.
See Luffy doing some engineering. You got Sanji peeling apples for Little Chopper. Adorbs.
I know.
Adorbs. No, I fucking hate Chopper.
Anyway.
Moving on.
Everybody's kind of like the hotel shot where, I mean, Usopp takes up most of that panel, but like where they're staying kind of looks cozy as heck, not gonna lie. And they're kind of getting an argument. It's like, you've been sleeping all day. Why do you want to go to bed? It's like, well, I collapsed. That's not my fault. And then, and they have like, it erupts into a pillow fight. Kind of hilarious. And then we see more of the Baroque agents and then Mr. 2. I'm going to spin. When I spin, I look like a swan. I'm a big fan of the Baroque agents. Most of them I'm just like, ugh. And of course, like you said, Michael, you kept calling out like mobster vibes. It's like, where are they all meeting at? Underneath a casino. So, yeah. Kind of hit that one, nailed that. And then, does he just appear in the chair?
I think it spins.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Some Dr. Evil-esque shit.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, oh, what the fuck? We're working for a pirate? What? That, for me, that was weird when they're all like, oh, it's you? How could we be working for you the whole time? It's like, what? Okay. You guys are focused on the wrong things, I'd say. But hey, who am I? I'm just a guy.
I think I see where you go from. You guys are all a bunch of
like assassins, yeah. You're like, oh, a pirate. How can we take orders from a pirate? It's like,
that's where I draw the line.
You've been taking orders from an unknown person to murder people. And then it's like, oh, I found out who it was, and I'm actually not okay with it anymore. It's like, what? You've been in this company for like 15 years. And then you kind of see, it's like, he doesn't like, Crocodile's not really after money or status, he wants military might, which kind of curious to me. It's like, oh, he wants to take Alabasta, but is he going to stop there? Because it sounds of military might, it seems like Alabasta was just the first step. It's like, I'm thinking he wants to conquer the whole Grand Line.
Giving Roman Empire vibes a little bit.
Yeah. And then you do get some of the clandestine things, like they all read the note and then burn the notes afterwards. I love this, like we cut back to them in town. And like, oh my god, you found water? It's like, yeah, I hit some damn stuff. And it's like a Dixie cup of water, and they're all like, oh wow. It's like, bro, that's like a sip and a half. Like, don't let Luffy hold on to that, because that's going to be gone immediately.
Right.
Luffy, for whatever reason, just sits down under a little tree after walking for a bit. It's like, what's wrong? It's like, I quit. It's like, oh, okay. Huh.
Like, can the captain quit?
Yeah, who gets I guess.
Zoro would probably...
Usopp takes over.
No.
Oh, God. Usopp
no, please.
They'd probably,
no.
If Luffy quit, they'd probably fire Usopp. And it's like, all right, Usopp, he was the one keeping you around. Yeah. Get out of here. Go on, get out of here. Can't you tell no one wants you around here anymore? But that's all I got.
I also really like the intro image here. We get a good look at the Straw Hats' desert outfits. The straw didn't bother me. I also liked seeing Sanji peeling an apple and Chopper eating one beside him. I thought that was very cute. I don't know. Wholesome and lovely. I like our little crew of misfits. Vivi at page 2. She's great. She's so confident and assured in her statement, and it's It's really inspiring. It's making me believe in her. Like because she says it as a certainty and not, I'm going to try to stop the rebellion. She says, I'm going to do that.
Do or do not.
There is no try.
There is no
exactly. Try. And I like that. I like that resolve. And then, yeah, over pages 3, 4, and 5, as Dylan pointed out, we get a wonderful display of what makes the Straw Hats so fucking lovable. They're quirky, they're flawed, but they're so dedicated and loyal. They truly want what is best for those that are close to them. So, yeah, my first thought was Rain Base is like Vegas. It's a place in the middle of the desert where people go gambling. Like, that's...
Yeah, let's go gambling.
Those are the vibes that I'm getting. Especially at page 8, like the bottom shot of page 8, Rain Dinner's Casino. I was like, this is Vegas. For sure. I really liked the reveal of Crocodile over pages 10 and 11, especially like as the penny drops about how he's one of the 7 warlords of the sea. And the way his face is drawn at the bottom of page 11 is chef's kiss. Like, it's heavily shaded in with the deep furrow in his brow. His eyes are like boring right into my fucking soul. Like, it was great. I love that.
Nailed it.
Absolutely nailed it. And it's like, Michael, you were saying that Crocodile is like one of your favorite like villains or characters or whatever. And I'm like, I get it. I absolutely get it. He is a badass. And then
he's a bad man.
The scene that kind of unfolds throughout the other pages, as Crocodile shares the goal of Baroque Works with the agents is very intense to me for some reason. It's like I can feel the swell in the story. I can feel that something important is about to happen. I also like the way that they read the instructions, then burn the pieces of paper over the chandelier. Crocodile's speech about how in a single night the kingdom will become our utopia, and how he prays for their success after telling them things are to be set in motion the next morning. It's very epic. Like pages 14 and 15 in particular, when all of it is kind of coming together, it feels like shit's about to go down, basically.
It's happening.
It's happening. It's happening.
Oh, God. He's pulling his cock out?
And then, we're back to the Straw Hats, but shortly after they leave Yuba, Luffy says that he quits. And what a way to gear up for the last chapter of this volume. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I had for 165.
All right. So, I just want to pop into the scene where they're all sleeping after Luffy's passed out. Luffy is snoring. He seems like a snorer, too.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, who else probably is a snorer? I would say Sanji and Zoro probably don't snore a lot. I bet Usopp does.
With his nose?
Yeah.
He probably has breathing problems because
Usopp?
because of his nose.
I feel like Chopper would be super cute sleeping, he has animal
curled
dreams.
Up.
And of course Nami doesn't snore. She doesn't do anything that isn't demure. I think I'm using that word right. But demure. And then demure. The Rain Dinners meeting was very epic. It was very cool. It was oozing with style. That gangster style, this is it. That I was talking about last volume. The meeting of the consiglieres and the capos or what have you.
Yeah.
It was good. It was cool. It was well done. It was well drawn. Mr. 2 kind of reminds me of a child when he's just in his chair, just spinning. Sit down. You don't have to constantly be moving, kid. And then, loved that shot of Crocodile. We got some vague insight to the plan. It makes you want to know more.
Yeah.
It dangles the carrot out there for you. Love that. It really built suspense well, that whole scene. And then, Luffy don't quit. What's going on here? It's a weird way to end it, but you're certainly what's he getting at?
Yeah.
So, overall, this was a good chapter to bring us back to the situation at hand after, we kind of got a little lore in the past 2 chapters. The scenes with the crew continue to impress, and the scenes with Crocodile and Baroque Works, they continue to build tension very well. At the end, it leaves you with a what the hell's going on kind of moment. I thought this chapter was really good. But that's what I had for 165. 166, our last chapter, will be V.
Yeah. So I do want to note here that we finally get the name drop of Full Body in the intro image story, because it says Full Body's manly dance with tearful protests. We already knew at this point, but now it's official. It's in the title. And then the title of this chapter is Luffy versus Vivi, and we will find out more about that. My notes on the beginning of the chapter are fairly scarce, just more general impressions than going into detail. But I loved seeing all of the pieces of the puzzle coming together within the organization of Baroque Works, with Mr. 3 coming back, asking for forgiveness, only for Crocodile to realize that the Straw Hats are still alive, and that he wasn't actually speaking to Mr. 3 over the little garden transporter snail, that he had been talking to one of the Straw Hats. And then Mr. 2 also realizes that he met them before. Overall, it was a really good, oh shit moment for Baroque Works, as again the penny drops and
they get surprised this time.
Yes, exactly. They get surprised. Also, I just wanted to point out at the top of page 7. Yeah, at the top of page 7, Mr. 2 calls Chopper it. And it just made me a little bit sad, because he's like, him, her, him, and it. I was like, no.
That monster.
No. Don't say that. Okay. I think I'm understanding what is going on at page 8. But did Crocodile suck all of the water out of Mr. 3?
We've seen a similar panel before, I think in the last volume, where someone was looking a little parched.
Right, I'm trying to
It was quick. It was quick.
Link the things together. But the way that Mr. 3 is drawn there is low-key haunting and disturbing. Just
I like it.
He looks like a mummy. Like, I don't know. It's scary. It's scary as shit. And what a way to go, though, getting eaten by a huge crocodile. The animal, not the guy. Dr. Evil could learn a few things from crocodile, to be honest. The guy, not the animal. Just, But yeah, Dr. Evil, with his freaking sharks with the freaking laser beams on their heads.
Freaking crocodiles with the freaking bananas.
But yeah, what a way to go. We get a good sense of the urgency of the situation as far as Baroque Works is concerned now, as Crocodile explains why Vivi and Koza can't meet, as it may backfire. And then, again, I guess in general, my notes for this chapter were broad, more of a holistic view on it than going into detail. But towards the end of the chapter, Luffy does have a point. I think it's at page 15. Yeah, as Sanji says, sometimes he makes a lot of sense for an idiot. And Usopp pointing out, that's Luffy. Yeah. Although I'm not sure how them not confronting the rebels will affect the rest of the story. I'm trying to figure out how it's going to make sense. I understand both Luffy and Vivi's points of view. It is naive for Vivi to think that there will not be any collateral damage when it comes to such a big conflict and such a grave situation. But I also understand why she would want to do everything she can to prevent it. We do get another, the One Piece is the friends we made along the way moment in the middle of page 18 from Luffy when he says, then let us help you. We're your friends, aren't we? And he's angry about it. Like tensions are really high because they just fought basically. But that's probably the one thing I admire most about Luffy is his dedication and his sense of sacrifice for the people that he comes to love. I don't know that he would ever call it love because I don't know that he understands what love is, but he desperately wants to help her and he wants her to let them help her. And he's mad about it. And sometimes you need to get a little mad at your friends. And then, the volume ends with the Straw Hat's goal being reiterated and a really good profile shot of Luffy. I think at the very bottom of page 19. Yeah,
with his swag.
Yeah.
He looks good in the desert.
Yeah, he does. He's I like the fact that it's a profile shot, seeing him from the side. He looks as determined as ever. It's a very exciting way to end this volume and to step into the next phase of the story. A lot of things are coming together.
Yes.
We're reaching that point where, there have been a lot of moments of realization throughout the volume, and it's all, we're at the eve of things coming together, and it makes me really excited to read the next. But there's still a lot to be uncovered. Also, a lot of questions, what's going to happen with the rebels and whatnot. So, yeah, to me that was a good way to end the volume. Next is going to be Dylan.
And Mr. 3 shows up. It is cool, like you mentioned him, getting all the moisture sucked out of him. And but he also kind of lets the cat out of the bag that no, the Straw Hats are still alive. So then being like, oh, they don't know we're here yet. They think we've been dealt with and all that, yada, yada, yada. And of course, super, again, Dr. Evil-esque ass vibes where there's a giant pit that he feeds. Or Jabba vibes as well. And drop to a pit where you get eaten by monsters. And also you hear a scream, you hear him see the banana gator. But I'm at the point where it's like, I don't see the body. Nah, a dumb motherfucker's probably alive somehow.
I don't know. That one feels pretty final. But, I've been wrong before.
Well, he's got devil fruit powers is my thing.
He's gonna wax him from the inside?
Good.
Well, if you point your attention to page 13, the second panel of page 13, that thing in the background is his, cape or
right? Yeah.
what have you. His little shawl?
Yeah.
Cloak?
And there's, the blup sounds of, bubbles.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, after you let the cat out of the bag, Bon Clay kind of showed him what they all look like. It's like, all right, this is who to look for now. So the cat's out of the bag on that one. They've lost that element of surprise. But Crocodile's definitely no, Vivi and Koza can't. If they meet together, then our plans might be shot because no one's going to be able to talk him out of it. That's going to blow up the fact that, at this point, I'm assuming Mr. 2 definitely did pose as the king and all that jazz. And then have fun. Definite psychopath vibes from that. So I need to go murder all the royal family, kill a bunch of civilians. But remember, have fun.
Fun with
And it's like, we have to go back so we can stop the rebels. Luffy's like, it's boring. And then he's just like, no, screw with dealing with the minor issues. Let's deal with the one causing all the problems. Let's get to the root of the problem, and the root of that problem is Mr. Crocodile. So let's get him. And his reasoning sounds stopping the rebels isn't going to stop Crocodile. It's like, yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense for an idiot. Yep. And then Luffy again just like kind of laying it out for Vivi. It's like, you expect to fight a warlord of the sea, a whole rebel army, and you don't think anyone's going to die? That's naive.
Yeah.
Like, it's like time to steal your heart. People are going to get hurt. It's just the unavoidable truth of the matter. And what's so wrong about not wanting people to die and just being like, people die? It's just...
Yeah.
It is what it is. And Luffy and Vivi kind of get into a fist fight, and this whole thing is like, stop. You're trying to do it all yourself. Stop. Let us help. The end of the chapter with the blood dripping from his nose. Pretty
Vivi
good.
did that.
Pretty good. Yeah. Pretty good.
Yeah, she did.
That's all I got.
Yeah, but he hit her.
Yeah.
All right. Somewhere here. Let me... Oh, yes. So when Sanji was on the phone with Crocodile in Little Garden, Crocodile completely just like whiffed on that one. Like something was clearly up, and honestly, that one's on him.
Yeah,
and I think he kind of realizes it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he was just like, quit fooling.
He could have been more astute. Yeah, like instead of being like, this is suspicious, he was like, he's just joshing, and you're like, well. I would have investigated that a bit more.
Tell me something about Baroque Works that only Baroque Works would know. You know, I don't know. There's a million ways you could have sussed that out.
Yeah.
Either way, we're building conflict here. We continue to build the conflict. And then, Croc is being straight ruthless here.
Yeah.
Mr. 3 comes in, actually provides some decent information. He failed at his mission. That's unforgivable, so he's done. He's out. And he is thrown into the crocodile pit. So... yeah, goodbye, perhaps. The conflict with the Straw Hats, I thought, was really good. You know, I liked seeing there be actually some kind of, what's the word, divisiveness, I guess? Some kind of conflict between them, like, real conflict. Not like, I'm going to beat you up for being a dummy or something.
Because we've seen, like, you know, like the pissing contest about, like, who gets the biggest... piece of meat on Little Garden between Zoro and Sanji.
Oh, yeah.
Like that was competition, and it built a little bit of tension, but it wasn't like, oh shit, we're actually fundamentally disagreeing on something, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, Luffy has some good points, Vivi has some good points. It wasn't just like
it wasn't one-sided.
Shallow,
yeah.
It wasn't shallow either. I felt like it had depth to the actual strategy behind it. And some great moments in that, you know, Luffy calling someone naive, like, oh.
He knows what that word means?
Yeah, right? And then Sanji stopped Nami from, like, yelling at Luffy.
Yeah.
Like, that's big, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Sanji, like, actually opposing something that Nami wants to do. Exactly. I think because he understood that it needed to be resolved between Luffy and Vivian, that anyone else intervening would, you know, it would have been pointless.
Yeah, it wouldn't have drawn a solution out of this. But, loved that. And then Luffy saying people die, it was a really cool moment. However, next to it I wrote, actually, you know, talking about the fake out death. Do people die?
Do people die? In this manga?
Right. and then, you know, I like that, allegedly, I like that I wrote going straight for the head. You know, they're not going to bother trying to settle the snake down. They're going to cut his head off. That's what Luffy wants to do. And I think there's some merit to that. You know, I could see the whole rebellion thing happening, but, or the rebellion thing, like having, you know, some success, but that does not really defeat Crocodile.
Yeah. I guess to me, I'm my only doubt is I feel like if they weren't pressed for time, I feel like it could have been advantageous to join up with the rebellion first and see what that's about. But they are pressed for time. And it's funny because I feel like we've come across issues like that in our D&D campaign. Where you're like, well, what do we do? Yeah. So strategically, it makes sense.
Yes. And then my final thoughts were, let's go. Things are moving. We are approaching our climax. I mean, again, this is a longer volume, so the climax is still going to have its own kind of rising action and progress through. But
we're edging.
Yeah, the domino. Yeah,
Sorry.
Exactly. the dominoes are all landing in place. The previous dominoes that have been set, throughout Whiskey Peak and Little Garden are coming into view again. Some things that maybe we left behind, we're seeing again, Mr. 3. This chapter felt like a turning point, and I loved it. Conflict is imminent. And that is what I had for 166. So last time I didn't give my final thoughts because, I don't know, I just blanked on it. But we'll go ahead and start our final words on the volume here. And yeah, so this volume had some excellent moments for me. Ace and Smoker, the Straw Hat interactions in a very challenging environment, and of course, Crocodile moving into the final phase of his plans. Nothing was exceptionally bad, but there were certainly some meandering parts a little bit, but I still found joy in those parts, especially, crew interactions and stuff like that. Especially when, again, I feel like the flashback kind of meandered a little bit, but it still had redeeming moments, and I kind of understand where you were coming from, V, with that. There was a lot of funny, silly moments, great art throughout this entire volume, and yeah, I would just say that this is a really good volume. And then our master of ceremony was V, so you'll start with your final thoughts.
Yeah, so I gave some along the way, but kind of like you were mentioning, I think, and as we've talked about throughout, the pieces are coming together. And now we are clearly just about to step into things that are potentially, like, we're reaching the point of no return as far as that conflict and that arc, I think, is concerned. Like, we're getting there, and while there are still a lot of questions that need answering, things have been set in motion. We have all of our pieces on the chessboard, it feels like, and now we're about to actually start playing.
That's a good way to put it.
I'm very excited to see how, like I said, excited to see how Vivi and Koza meeting up at some point, hopefully. Like, I know that they did decide to not go straight for the rebellion yet, but I have a feeling like they are going to meet up somehow. That has yet to be determined, and I'm really excited to see that unfold. I'm excited to find out more about Baroque Works' plan. And overall, it's, I haven't felt that type of, like, anticipation for what's to come in a while in the manga. I think it's been, the action has driven the story forward, but now we're really at a point where, like, shit's about to go down, and I'm really looking forward to it. So I think it was a great volume. I think it provided a lot of insight, a lot of answers to things that we were wondering about, and it's building up to this finale, I think, pretty well. So, yeah, overall thoughts, loved it. Really, really loved it.
Right on. Dylan, go ahead and wrap things up.
I will say it was a really good volume. It did give a lot of information, but in a non-annoying way.
Mm-hmm.
The way the information was given made sense. It flowed well. Whereas some of the other volumes, it just felt like they were just absolutely just lore dumping. And it's just like, okay, this is getting kind of boring. But this is well done. Exciting to see that Baroque Works is finally putting its plan into motion. So yeah. Good volume, ready for the next one.
Hell yeah. All right, Dylan. So with that brings our discussion of Volume 18 to a close. I'll go ahead and lift the embargo on 19, read at your leisure. And if I may, turn your attention to my screen share. We're just going to do some quick thoughts on the cover of the next volume. The title of this one is Rebellion. And,
well, we see Koza, right? The person holding the what is
gun?
That, a musket?
Yeah.
That's a fine rifle, I think.
Yeah.
Very
flintlock musket.
And then we see two strangers who I don't know if we've met them.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen. Maybe those are the people I was sus about. Maybe that's those two royal guards that you didn't get to see.
Maybe that were like shaded in, and where I was like, "This is fishy." Maybe, yeah. And then the background is crocodile, right?
No, that's the king.
Cobra.
Oh, Cobra.
And Luffy's doing, I'm pretty sure, his Sanji impression.
Right? Oh my goodness.
He's got
the eyebrow too.
Eyebrow.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Nice. Classic.
I don't know what Usopp's doing there.
He's just being
having
a
fun.
fucking idiot. He's making fun of Tony because he's crying.
Stop. Tony didn't
Dylan
cry.
sees himself in Usopp.
Does he cry?
Maybe once or twice.
Well, at the beginning,
he was quiet about his nose.
He was he was whiny, but he wasn't crying. He was whiny because
He did cry when Mr. 2 left. Because it was his friend. But
anyway,
nonetheless.
I think he still did. I'm so proud of him.
All right. Any last words here before I wrap this up?
No.
No,
Sure.
I'm excited.
So, with that, I just want to thank both of you for joining me on this discussion. I want to thank our listeners for listening. And make sure to check us out on social medias. We got an Instagram, we got a Twitter, and our Discord is in the bio. Come join our conversations. We'd love to have you. So, without further ado, I will say, bon voyage.
Bon voyage.
Ciao, Bella.